This is the Patriots Catch-22 podcast with Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
I'm Evan Lazar. Lazar.
Hello, everybody.
Nailed it. Joined as always by Alex Barth.
That's a fit. That's a match.
No risk it, no biscuit.
22.
Here is Evan Lazar and Alex Barth.
Not to do a math thing, but that's just the math. Like, the math just tells you that A.J. Brown's going to average 16 yards a catch if you single cover him on the outside. Trayvion's going to average like 4.5, 5 yards a carry. What would you rather do? Give up 16 yards per pass or 5 yards per carry?
Depends on the situation, and there's all these other factors in it. But
just on the surface.
Sure. It becomes about Henderson and Stevenson, too, making the most of those opportunities.
Yeah, no, the run game as a whole is a big factor.
And I think the big thing for Henderson there is he struggled in traffic last year, and if A.J. Brown is pulling a defender out of the box and it's one less guy he has to navigate, the better. But it's still going to be A.J. Brown. It's like
22.
Welcome in, everybody, to the Patriots Catch-22 podcast. I'm Evan Lazar, joined as always by Alex Barth, ace behind the glass. Minicamp, Barth, Minicamp. We got some real football to talk about. I'm excited to do that with you guys for the next couple of hours, and we'll take calls and emails at some point in the show. But I got a list of things that I want to talk about that Alex and I have seen over the last 2 days of Patriots Minicamp. Today was a lighter day, full disclosure, not a fast-paced practice, more of a jog-through, walk-through type of practice. So I wouldn't necessarily say there's a ton to glean from this practice individually, Alex, but we've seen 4 of these now this spring. I feel like we're starting to get to a point where there's some real takeaways and real things to dig our teeth into. So we'll definitely do that over the course of this show, and it's exciting. It's exciting to be back out there. I'm trying my best to get some color, get some tan, because I was white as a ghost from the winter. We got you through the FIFA perimeter, which was not easy. That was a whole ordeal, but you're here, and that's the most important thing. So for everybody that doesn't know, if you're not coming to the game, then this is not an easy place to be right now. So the FIFA perimeter, we got Barth in. Everything is fine. We'll see about the next couple of weeks. But speaking of the next couple of weeks before we get into minicamp, because of the World Cup, we've had to move the radio schedule around just a little bit, so I want to mention this a couple of times. So for the next 2 weeks, Catch-22 will be 2 to 4 o'clock Eastern time on Wednesdays. So normally we're 12 to 2, but we're going to have PU from 12 to 2 on Wednesday, and then Catch-22 will be on right after that from 2 to 4. So you have 4 straight hours on Wednesday of Patriots.com radio, which is pretty cool. So that's going to be the schedule the next couple of weeks. I think there's maybe one other inside the FIFA dates of podcasting, but we should be back at the normal time on that final Wednesday. And then once training camp rolls around, all this will be over. So that's the schedule for the next couple of weeks there. And I'll mention it again at the end of the show. Let's get into it, though. Let's get into training camp. Or minicamp, I'm thinking training camp on my mind. Minicamp here over the last couple of days. I have a bunch of, topics to discuss, and, we'll get even more and more to the bottom of the roster as we do on this show. But the first just topic off the top that I wanted to talk about, I think it's probably one of the bigger storylines around the team right now that maybe is getting a little bit overshadowed by Christian Gonzalez's participation, Gabe Akis' lack of participation, which we'll get to. But over the course of the spring, and I would say especially yesterday, we have just seen a really sharp Drake May, in my opinion. Really someone that just looks at ease in this offense, which you would expect coming off of last season. But yesterday, I felt like he kind of lit up that red zone periods, those live periods. I think he had 2 or 3 incompletions. The ball wasn't really hitting the ground. Some of them were check downs and shorter throws, but some down the field throws to A.J. Brown, Hunter Henry, Ramondre Stevenson on a vertical route out of the backfield. I mean, it just looked like he is in complete command of this system in year 2. And as we know in this sport, Alex, a lot of the time you're driven by your quarterback, right? The quarterback drives the bus, and you're going to go as far as Drake May is going to take you. And this year 2 thing with Josh McDaniels that has gotten a lot of attention. A lot of people have talked about it, written about it, that it's the first time that Drake May has had real system and coordinator, play caller continuity. going all the way back to probably high school, because he didn't have it at North Carolina and he didn't have it his first couple years here with the Patriots. I just think that the return early on is that it looks like it. You can tell that Drake May is in a system that he's at ease with. What have been your impressions for him, really just across the entire spring, but yesterday in particular?
Again, I go back to my take from last year that it's going to be nice when we're not, every time there's a practice or whatever, it's not suddenly what is the state of the organization at quarterback. They have a good quarterback. We know they have a good quarterback, and he's playing like a good quarterback. Obviously, he looks good. I don't mean this to take anything away from him, but like you said, it's kind of being buried. I think it's being buried because we know this is who he is.
Yeah.
Breaking, Drake May, good quarterback. Is that news? I know, don't get me wrong, I know people like to hear it, but it's not news, which is kind of nice. And they talked a little bit more about it today. Drake May did, Mike Vrabel did, Josh McDaniels, they all did, about how the big focus for him this offseason is the pre-snap stuff and getting them in the right play at the line of scrimmage and making adjustments and things like that. That's not something you're going to see or judge as much, at least externally in this setting for us. That's something we'll see more when we get to the game. So that's something I'm very interested in. But I just think it's great that, he's had this great spring. I don't know how newsworthy it is because I kind of expected him to come in here and have a good spring.
Yeah, I think it's a fair question of what does another level look like for Drake May, because I think he was so good last year.
Yeah.
That expecting him to make even another leap where he's improving even more upon last year, he's a runner-up for MVP. So I guess he could be the MVP of the league, right? Instead of finishing second. But I think the biggest thing, though, to get to your point about the pre-snap stuff,
I think that's the next step.
Is that comes out against better defenses. Like, he's going to be able to go out there against bottom 10 defenses and light it up. Like, I have no doubt about that, and I have no doubt that he would do that, especially with the supporting cast that they've put around him this season with A.J. Brown and Romeo Doubs and all these guys we're going to talk about here over the next couple hours. But when it got into the playoffs, and maybe some of this was roster construction and youth and all that stuff, and it wasn't just him by any means, but when you face that gauntlet of the Chargers and the Texans and the Broncos and the Seahawks, you started to see that the next step to me for him is not necessarily, he's got to make this adjustment better or this mechanic tweak or this read this coverage better. It's more so that when it's better competition, when he's facing other playoff caliber teams and defenses that are at the top of the league instead of at the bottom of the league, now they're going to beat up on teams at the bottom of the league, and hopefully they're going to stockpile wins against those teams at the bottom of the league next season. But the good teams, right? When they play Seattle in the opener, when they play Detroit and Munich, when they play Kansas City, when they play these really good teams around the NFL that are on their schedule, to me, that's the next step for Drake May. And I don't know if it's necessarily something that's super tangible right now. Like, I'm seeing a quicker release, or I'm seeing a guy that's seeing it faster through his progressions or anything like that. It's more, big picture than that of, can he take that next step against the best of the best when the money's on the line in the playoffs? But has there been any little things that you have seen, or do you think that we're still far away from being able to come to those conclusions?
Yeah, it's a tough setting to judge that kind of thing. Doesn't mean it's not there. I just think it's tough in this, like a lot of things in the spring. Like you're especially today, it's going so slow, and they're trying to you're not changing the plays a ton when you're installing, because you got to run the plays that you're trying to install. So it's a little early for that. Okay,
let's get into some of the other news and notes here, attendance stuff, things of that nature. I think I want to start Christian Gonzalez, but I'm actually tempted to start Gabe Akis.
I think Akis is a bigger story.
I think it's a bigger story too.
Just because if Gonzalez wasn't here, Gonzalez would be a bigger story.
Yeah.
Obviously he's not signed. I guess we are starting Gonzalez and saying this. I think the way you start with Akis is explain why you're not starting with Gonzalez. And it's obviously not ideal he's not signed.
Yep.
He didn't fully participate yesterday. He did individual drills, and he did the walkthrough stuff. He did the walkthrough stuff today. Do you see any major cause for alarm?
No.
Short of just that he's not signed, it feels like they're in as good a spot as they realistically could be. And just for a little background, Evan, I went back and looked at last year's draft class and when those guys signed their extensions, just to get an idea. The Patriots ahead of schedule, they behind schedule, right? Derek Stingley signed his on March 17th. He was first. That's obviously early. Tyler Smith and Charles Cross, 2 offensive linemen, signed the last week in April. So that's 3 players from that whole first round. The next guy to sign was Garrett Wilson. That was on July 14th. Sauce Gardner signed the next day, and Kyle Hamilton signed on August 27th. And they all kind of did what Gonzalez is doing right now.
Yeah.
They participated in minicamp, but not fully. So, I don't know. I'm not that worried about it. As things stand right now, I'm not that worried. This is, I think, more or less where most teams and players are at this point in the negotiation.
I'm not. I actually would come away from his being here in the little bit of participation that he has done, and I would also say maybe this is a little bit inside baseball, but having a press conference yesterday, after yesterday's practice, I would take all of those as pretty positive signs, because if they were having a hostile contract negotiation where it wasn't going well and the two sides were worlds apart, and it was a true, players don't hold out a ton anymore. So even if it was a hold in, if it was a true hold in, I'd be a little bit more concerned about it. But I actually think the limited amount of work that he has done tells me that this is a good faith gesture on the Gonzalez camp of we're hearing some things that we like, and maybe we're getting closer to a deal. So I'm going to show up and I'm going to be here. And yesterday he said that, he has obligations. He has an obligation to the team to be here. He's under contract as of right now. It's not a situation like Gabe Akis where he's unsigned. And he's going through, even though he's not doing live team, which makes sense because he's not going to go out there and risk injury in a live team setting. He's going through the walkthroughs as the starting, right cornerback in the spot that he's always in. And that tells me that he obviously doesn't feel like this is going to last much longer to the point where he's going to start sitting things out. So we have seen hold-ins, Matthew Judon, Stephon Gilmore. I think those two are probably the most pertinent ones that I can think of off the top of my head, where Judon in the Gerard Mayo year, remember Judon was sitting on mats in shorts and a t-shirt on the side of the field. Yep. And this was during training camp, not during minicamp. It was during training camp. And Gerard Mayo sent him to the locker room. He said, if you're going to just sit out here and lounge around, then you don't need to be out here. That this is so far away from that, even though he's not doing the live stuff. So he's holding out of a little bit of what's going on. I think the participation in the walkthroughs, I'm sure he's participating in all the meetings that we don't see. I actually took this as a really positive sign that Gonzalez has been present and participating as much as he has.
Yeah.
If this was a bad contract negotiation, he either wouldn't be here or he wouldn't be doing anything. And he's at least doing a little bit of something. You mentioned Gabe Akis. You feel that that's the biggest story around the team right now. I concur. I think it absolutely is. It's a two-pronged thing. He's not signed, and there seems to be an injury that Mike Vrabel mentioned he's having a procedure on. There's a lot of different ways to kind of tackle this subject, but, Gabe Akis individually, what do the Patriots do if Gabe Akis, and I would say to an extent Harold Landry, are not as available as they were hoping that they were going to be going into the season? Is this a spot where they're looking to trade for Kayvon Thibodeau? Is this a spot where they're looking to sign a free agent? What's our comfort level with Elijah Ponder being the guy opposite Draymond Jones? But just starting off with Akis, what's your take on why he's not here and what we've heard so far about that?
I mean, I would guess it's injury related. Vrabel said he had a procedure. He was dealing with a hamstring thing during the pre-draft process. He's the only second-round pick. I think the other 2 second-round picks that were unsigned.
He is the only second-round pick in the league that are not signed.
He's not the highest unsigned. I think Mendoza's unsigned.
He is. So there were 2 as of yesterday when
who were higher than him?
No, that were second-round picks that were unsigned. There were him and Cassius Howell with the Bengals.
Yeah.
Cassius Howell signed yesterday afternoon with Cincinnati and signed his rookie contract. So now Gabe Akis is not only the lone Patriot rookie that's not signed draft pick-wise, he's also the only second-round pick in the NFL who is not signed.
Although, oddly enough, the first 6 third-round picks aren't signed. But, and the only players above him who aren't signed are Mendoza, Simpson, and Omar Cooper Jr.
Because I think the Browns got Casey Concepcion done today or late last night.
Yeah, look, it's concerning, though. It's definitely concerning. He is a player that they could use. that they need this year, especially Harold Landry still isn't out here. Sounds like he's still rehabbing. And just the way Vrabel spoke yesterday, I think, in the body language and all of that, did it seem like something that was going to resolve quickly?
Yeah, no, I would say no. And I think the biggest, somebody asked me on Twitter, I think it was Dave, asked me on Twitter, I like to see I'm small C concerned about things. He said, how big of a C concern is this with Gabe Akis? I have three, I'll give you three categories of concern, all right? You have the small C, which is like minor, right? Not concern. Then we have like the normal size C, which is like a little bit concern, like, but not like freaking out. And then we have the real concern. I'm right in the middle right now. I'm not like freaking out yet about this, but it's bigger than small C concern at this point. And I think it kind of relates back to not necessarily that I think Gabe Akis is in jeopardy of like not having a career or anything like that, but it's more so that he's behind. And, Mike Smith, the outside linebackers coach, admitted it yesterday that yes, he's going to be behind. Now we can have an argument about how behind can you really be as an edge rusher? Like it's not a position like wide receiver or tight end or something like that where you need to have chemistry with the quarterback and understand the whole play concept. Gabe Akis plays the right defensive end spot. He gets after the quarterback. He stops the run. Like it's pretty cut and dry what his job is. So it's not quite, we've seen guys like N'Keal Harry, Tyquan Thornton, players like that have mostly gotten hurt in training camp and then fall behind. And when they fall behind, it's really hard to get back on the train. Like when the train's moving, it's really hard to jump back on. And I think that's the question with Akis is that even if he's ready to go by training camp, there's a lot of whole spring. And he's not even here. Like it's not even like he's going through mental reps like it sounds like Harold Landry and Morgan Moses are. Right. He's, according to Vrabel, he's not even at the facility.
And for a rookie, this is such an important time because when you're honing your technique, you're learning the playbook, things like that's one thing. Like I said last week, can Christian Gonzalez afford to miss this time? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
His technique's solid. He knows the playbook. He's got that all down. For him, it's really like training camp and just getting into football shape.
Yeah.
And working on some communication stuff with the other players in secondary. For Gabe Akis, it's another story. I mean, you get drafted. I don't care who you are. You're essentially starting from the ground up.
Yeah.
So this is important time for him to be missing.
Yep, absolutely. So that's Akis individually. In terms of their depth at edge rusher, it's been a lot of Elijah Ponder opposite of Draymond Jones. Vrabel talked up Braden Swinson a little bit today and said that he's had a good offseason and been doing all the right things. So basically right now, you have Draymond Jones, you have Elijah Ponder, Braden Swinson, and then, some of like the UDFA guys and back end of the roster guys that they've brought in. Where are you at right now in terms of their edge depth? But I would actually say it's more like starting talent.
It's all of it. It's just where they at on the edge. I mean, it's their most worrying position right now. I think I'm as worried about their edge group as you can be about a positional group in June.
Yeah. It's there's no doubt that it's...
If Landry's not 100%, if Akis isn't 100%, and I mean, when you're talking about those guys not being 100%, I'm talking about, are they going to be available this year?
Yeah.
Or if Landry is like, is he the guy he was the second half of last year? They had to shut him down in the playoffs.
Right.
He couldn't play in the playoffs. Is he going to be that coming back? Because that doesn't help. Who knows where Gabe Akis is at? So that leaves you with Draymond Jones, who's a fine complimentary player, but I don't.
But here to replace Chase on it, it's a 1-for-1. It's not like the ad was Akis, right? Like,
right.
Like they brought Landry back.
Well, just forget comparing to last year. You have Draymond Jones, who I think is a complimentary rusher, but not a guy you want to pin your pass rush on.
Yep.
You have Elijah Ponder, who played 250 snaps last year as UDFA, looked okay, but again, you're talking about a significant jump from a 250 snap passing down role to being a full-time player, which is what he would be if those two guys are gone. And then after them, Swinson, little to no NFL experience.
Hutchins,
Jesse Luketa has been a special teamer's whole NFL career. And then he was a 7th-round pick in Q Hutchins and UDFA and Xavier Holmes.
Yeah.
That's not enough.
Yeah.
That's not enough.
It's not. I should say, as we're talking about this, it feels good to be back in this world where this is like, this is not enough to win the Super Bowl.
Right.
Right? Like, that's what we're talking about. It's not that it's not enough they're going to win 6 games, but it's a good spot to be back in. But, that just kind of compared to last year, I just look at it as, to me, Draymond Jones is a wash. Like, Kayvon Chase on it, out,
sure.
Draymond Jones in. Harold Landry comes back. Elijah Ponder comes back. Not that I thought they were moving on from those players, but they're back on the roster. The ad was Akis. Like, Akis was supposed to be the guy that was going to elevate the talent in this room, because Draymond Jones was kind of just a wash with Chason to me. So it's a 1-for-1 swap. You're not expecting him to be a game changer that's that much better than Chason. So without Akis, without that, sort of sprinkle sweetener on top, like it's hard to see this room as, improving on last year. I think we're at the point now, and they know more than us about Akis, where if I had felt like Akis was going to be, I guess I had questions about Akis as a 3-down player out of the chute anyways. I didn't know if he was going to have the pass rush ability right away to be the most effective guy opposite of Jones on 3rd down. I thought maybe that would be more in a rotation with Landry or Elijah Ponder. I was hoping that Akis was going to at least be like your early down edge setter, and then Ponder would come in on 3rd down and rush the passer. But they don't even have that ability to do that right now because he's not here. If you're the Patriots and you sit here on June 10th, 2 days into mandatory minicamp, and 2 of your guys that you're really counting on at that position, and Landry and Akis, are not here, not participating in these practices, and you pick up the phone and you call the Giants.
Yeah.
And you call John Harbaugh and you say, we will offer you what for Kayvon Thibodeau? What kind of pick are you willing to part with?
Kayshon Boutte in a 5th.
Do you think that gets it done?
I mean, I think that's at least competitive. I don't know what else is out there. Although you did have Abdul Carter get hurt the other day, so that could complicate things. But based on what the reports ESPN had, if it's Kayshon Boutte in a 5th or just an outright 3rd, which do you think they take?
I guess it depends on how truly worried the Giants are about Malik Neighbors. Like, I can't answer that question without having that
ESPN
intel.
basically had the expected ranges between a 3rd and a 6th. So if it's Boutte in a 4th versus a 3rd, what do you think the Giants take?
Probably Boutte.
Right. I'd do Boutte in a 4th.
So I think that's. I personally am right around a 3rd or a 4th. With 3rd, obviously, would be without Boutte and maybe an early day 3 pick. But I think it's a call you have to make at this point. Even if you think that Akis is going to be fine and Landry is going to be fine, counting on those guys, especially Landry, for this season, I think is a stretch. And like we said, this could be the difference of them making a deep playoff run and not making a deep playoff run, is how much pass rush they can get off the edge. And I would just hate to see all the great things that they've done personnel-wise this offseason, trading for A.J. Brown, bringing in guys like Draymond Jones and Kevin Byard and Romeo Dobbs, and a draft class that I think has some promise and some potential. And then you see this sort of glaring need on the roster when you get out of the spring and you just kind of let it go by the wayside. I would hate for this to be the reason why they don't win a Super Bowl. Maybe if they don't win a Super Bowl, it's because of all these other factors that go into the luck that you need to win a Super Bowl. But when all of us can see months out that they don't have enough pass rush off the edge, I would just hate that to be the reason. And I look at a guy like Thibodeau, and I think he plays a lot like they want him to play. He's built a lot the same way. He's kind of has those 6'3", 6'4", 255. Like, that's their measurables. Those are their buckets, the thresholds. I think he plays with a good motor. I think he can use him in multiple spots in the line. You can stunt him. I think he plays with a good aggressiveness. Like, I think he has that Mike Vrabel edge rusher type of archetype to him that I think he would be a good fit here. The only thing that holds me back with Thibodeau is that he's in a contract year. He's playing on his 5th-year option, and if you trade a top 100 pick for him in the future, then you probably are going to have to think about extending him if it works out, because you don't want to give up that kind of draft capital just for 1 year. I don't think you'd want to do that, but I think you got to make that call if you're Elliott Wolf at this point. All right.
Just along those lines, one other option they might have. How do you feel about Jadeveon Clowney?
I mean, I don't feel great about it. Like, it's another veteran body, and maybe that's like for Harold Landry. Like, if Harold Landry it can't give them what they need, then it's somebody that can play a similar role to Harold Landry. But I don't love it as much as I would like to trade it.
Obviously, but just for what it's worth, 8.5 sacks in 13 games last year in Dallas, and has played for Vrabel for multiple seasons.
Yeah,
was when Vrabel was an assistant in Houston, and then also played for him in Tennessee for a year.
forgot that Tennessee year. I knew he was in Houston with him, but
Yeah, it was with him in Tennessee. Like, I don't know.
not the worst.
8.5 sacks last year. I think it would have led the Patriots, right?
I think
They're tied for
I
the
think
lead?
Chason had 8.
So I'm not just if they can't make a trade, they need somebody. If they can't make a trade, I'd call Jadeveon Clowney.
All right, I could live with Jadeveon Clowney on a 1-year deal just to add some depth there, but I definitely would make that call on Thibodeau at this point. Let's go to the wide receivers. Kayshon Boutte, obviously a big story as well. Maybe not as big as the first two names with Gonzalez and Akis, but we saw yesterday, Alex, in Tuesday's practice, Kayshon Boutte makes a big play down the field. There's actually working with Tommy DeVito. I believe Kobe Minor was the corner in coverage, but just a classic, go ball, get behind the defender, toe tap, in the back of the end zone. It was a pretty classic Kayshon Boutte moment, and I think it was good and bad at the same time because I think it was a little bit of a reminder of what this guy can bring to the table, but also maybe we all kind of started swooning all over again about Kayshon Boutte,
right?
And it's all him being back in the mix here. But to his credit, it was basically one of the first reps he took in 11-on-11s on Tuesday after not being here for OTAs, and he made a play right out of the chute. We did see some Boutte, Brown, Dobbs, 3 receivers, as their top 3 guys, rotating in together. But I still come back to just it being a really crowded room. And I guess maybe that's a good, first world problem to have. But on the outside, Brown's going to play. You're trying to get Kyle Williams, Mac Hollins, and Kayshon Boutte all reps behind A.J. Brown. So that's 4 guys that are basically playing. Mac Hollins is maybe the one guy that plays a little bit more Z than those other 3 that I mentioned, those other 2 that I mentioned.
Yeah.
But for the most part, you have guys that are competing for a lot of the same work because A.J. Brown and Dobbs are going to be on the field. Pop Douglas kind of brings his own little thing out of the slot as the jitterbug slot, speed slot. That's different than the other guys that I mentioned. It just still felt like watching practice to the point where Kayshon Boutte is repping a lot with Tommy DeVito because he just got to get in at some point, and you can't give all those reps to him with Drake May because Drake May is working with Dobbs and A.J. Brown. You could feel it already, in my opinion, that there's just a lot of guys that need to get reps and a lot of guys that need to be out there. At the same time, like I said at the top of this, Kayshon Boutte made a great play yesterday, and it shows you that he's a pretty talented and pretty good receiver. Where are you at right now with Boutte, who I thought was a little bit more wishy-washy maybe than Christian Gonzalez? I hope it's here, but if it's not here, then it's not here. That sort of answer. But where are you at right now with Kayshon Boutte?
I mean, look, I think he'd like to stay here. Who wants to move, right? Moving
right, none of us. Yeah.
Does he want to stay here in a reduced role? Does he want to stay here without a guarantee of a contract? All those things, right? And then that changes the element of it. It's a crowded room. It's just a crowded room, and it's tough to see how he fits in. Now, I don't think they have to rush to get him out the door, and maybe you wait and see if a team gets desperate in camp. But somebody, they to your point, you just kind of highlighted it. How do you justify carrying all these players? A.J. Brown, Mac Hollins, Romeo Dobbs, Kayshon Boutte, Kyle Williams, Jamario Douglas, Efton Chisholm. That's 7.
Yeah.
So even if you drop, I guess if you drop Chisholm and Pop, that's 5. Are they going to do that? Now you lose a lot of speed. In Douglas, you don't have a ton of inside guys. So what does that look like? It's just hard to see how all the pieces fit. It just feels like they have an excess, and I think Bootie's the most logical guy to part ways with.
It just feels like they have too much redundancy in the room. Now, we talked to the assistant coaches before practice, and I asked Todd Downing about that, and he said, I know that this is kind of a talking point right now that we have, so many guys in the room, and he said, to him, like, he just wants to get the best 5 or 6 football players, and then whether they have the same skill sets or redundancies, he put that onus on himself and Josh McDaniels to figure that out once they get to that point of how to use all these guys. I'm coming around a little bit to the Boutte, Brown, Dobbs trio because it allows A.J. Brown to maybe play a little bit more as a chess piece and move around the formation a little bit more, which I think at this stage of his career might be good for him to play more on the inside and a shorter, like, kind of higher volume role in that sense. But I still feel like your body types are really similar.
Yeah.
I still feel like you don't have a ton of speed on the field when you put that group on there, which I think might be the biggest concern that I have with it is that, Pop Douglas, Kyle Williams, even if those guys aren't as good as Kayshon Boutte is necessarily, just in like a raw Madden score type of way,
Right.
they bring a speed and like an explosiveness and a dynamic play speed element to the table that he doesn't, with that complements Brown and Dobbs a little bit more. But seeing it yesterday, I didn't hate it, especially what it allowed them to do with AJ Brown, who I think is probably best at this point of his career, being a little bit more of a movable chess piece than he is a guy that's strictly just glued to the boundary and maybe doing some of that big slot stuff where you just let him go,
Right.
take on linebackers, safeties, nickel corners, and use his size and use his ability. If they broke camp and that was their top three guys, how do you feel about that? Do you think it works?
Who was the third guy?
Boutte, Brown, Dobbs.
Yeah, but you want to get Matt Collins more involved, and you're lacking some speed there. I guess it could work.
So you're with me. You don't love it. Doesn't sound like you love it.
I like the question is how much, if you're going to keep Boutte, how much is he willing to take on a reduced role? That can certainly be a grouping, but I think you also have to get Matt Collins involved. Drake May likes throwing to him. He's big. He helps in the run game. I think you have to get at least one of Pop Douglas or Kyle Williams involved because you need some sort of true speed element.
Yep.
So if it's, and then I'm missing somebody else in there too, I think.
Brown, Dobbs. Yeah.
Brown, Dobbs are the main two. So yeah, Hollins, Boutte, and then either Williams or Douglas,
or both. On all those guys are probably going to make the team.
So that's how much you're at 11. What percentage of the time do we think they're going to be in 11?
65, 70%.
Okay, so what's a third of 60%? 20%?
33, 30, right?
No.
Yeah, 66% would be 2/3.
A third of 60%.
Okay, so a little bit less than that.
Okay. So is Kayshon Boutte going to be okay with that many snaps?
Yeah, and that many snaps while also playing in a contract year. Like if he was getting that many snaps,
if he was already paid,
right,
that's a different. And by the way, just
second year in the NFL or
for
something
reference,
like that.
He played 67% of the snaps in games he was in last year, 79% the year before that.
Yeah.
So you are talking about a significant decrease in role.
I believe it was Matt Collins, Boutte, Diggs were the top three at wide receiver in terms of snaps.
Diggs might have been fourth.
Diggs was only around 50-something%.
55%.
Yeah.
I can find that. Hang on.
So I think it was those three guys.
It was, so Boutte's number comes down for the overall because remember he missed a couple of games.
Yeah.
He was still, hang on, I got to sort this by. His number comes down because he missed games. So this is a little different. It was Matt Collins first at 60%, then Boutte at 55, Diggs at 54, then Kyle Williams at 30.
That's what I thought it was. Okay, so I think that this all comes back to with Kayshon Boutte because I know I get shit on for saying that
you can't swear. Don't swear.
I get crapped on. I can't say that word. Okay, I get crapped on. We can edit that one out. Bleep it out. All right.
For the record, I don't like that.
Yeah, sure.
I think censorship's kind of dumb, but you keep getting in trouble for swearing, so I have to make sure you don't swear.
That's true. I keep getting crapped on for crapping on Boutte for saying because people think I don't like him as a player. I don't like the situation for him because he's a fourth-year player that's in the final year of his rookie contract that needs to make headway to get a second contract in the NFL. And you are telling a player that has made all of the positive strides and done all the right things over the course of his first 3 seasons to carve out a role and, make himself a valuable piece in the offense and show what he can do on the NFL level. And now you're going to take that player's role, you're going to cut it in half when he's trying to get paid. It just doesn't feel, honestly, it doesn't feel fair to Kayshon Boutte.
It's not a great situation for him.
Right. So if I was Kayshon Boutte, I could totally understand if his camp and his side of things was like, well, I need to go someplace else with more opportunity because they just keep on bringing in guys that are pushing me down. I would totally understand that. I also understand what he kind of said yesterday about, hey, I'm just going to compete. If they give me the chance, I'm going to beat these guys out, and good for him for being competitive like that. But it's not that I think that Kayshon Boutte is a scrub. I just think that Kayshon Boutte is going to want to get more opportunities than the Patriots can present him. And if he's the
Right.
backup X to A.J. Brown and he's playing 30%, what do you say? Kyle Williams played 30% of the snaps last year, roughly?
Yeah, 30.7.
That was the backup X, right?
Right.
And he's playing 30.7% of the snaps. If that's the role that Kayshon Boutte has, then why is that good for Kayshon Boutte? Like, that does nothing for him. So I would just worry about the dynamic more so than I'm worried about, is he a bad player or not? So we'll see what happens, with Kayshon Boutte, but he was here. He's participating fully. There's no extracurriculars going on with that one. Next item on my list. Let's go, since we're on the receivers, let's jump to just our initial impressions so far. We've seen, let's call it 2.5 because today's practice was not really a full practice. 2.5 practices now of A.J. Brown. What have been your initial impressions? I think that my initial impressions of A.J. Brown are just as advertised. Like, he looks like a alpha number 1 wide receiver. He looks... Yeah. I don't think that I'm not, thinking this is 07 Redux yet, but I'm also not, thinking that he's lost a step either. The catch that he made yesterday was impressive. A 50-50 ball in the back shoulder against Vildor that he just won at the catch point and kind of just, flexed on him, did one of those dominant A.J. Brown reps. I really just like, I think the biggest thing, though, is like when he's rolling at you, if you're playing off coverage against him as a corner and he's rolling at you off the line of scrimmage, he has really great body control to just like break down and cut in on the slant, that it's like almost unstoppable to cover that route. If you give him like 7 or 8 yards of cushion and he gets you into the pedal because you have to respect the vertical route and he snaps off a slant or a dig or an out, a hitch even, I don't know how you cover that because he's so sudden and he's so balanced that he's able to just come in and out of the break so quickly and without giving any sort of tells to the defender of what he's going to do. That pops off even routes on air. You can sort of see that body control and the suddenness that he has at the top of the route. Really excited about what I've seen with him so far. It's been a lot of outside receiver, which you can expect this early on. A lot of back shoulders, hitches, slants, like working that outside vertical tree. But I really expect that by the time, let's just say Eagles joint practice, because I'm sure he'll be geared up for that one. Right. By the time the Eagles are in town for those joint practices, I kind of expect another layer of the playbook to be open to A.J. Brown to move around the formation a little bit more and do some of that big slot stuff I was talking about. But my initial impression has just been, looks like A.J. Brown. Looks like a stud wide receiver. And it's been cool to see Drake May throw him the ball.
Oh, yeah. And I think that's the big thing for me. And Mike Vrabel was asked about this today and talked about it today, is just the chemistry between him and May. And a lot of those routes you're talking about are timing routes. They're chemistry routes. They got to be on the same page. And looks like they're making progress in that regard, which is good. He's clearly picked up a ton of the playbook, went from... And I wasn't expecting him to be super involved when we saw him last week in that first practice. He had just I mean, he'd been a Patriot for less than 24 hours. Right.
Yeah.
Then we come out here this week, and he looks like the number 1 wide receiver in terms of his usage. So I'm just the chemistry and some of the timing stuff between him and Drake May, I think, is going to be a big story to watch all summer.
Yep. So I have a few more things still on the list, but since we're on the topic of wide receivers, I just want to throw it in there. Mike Vrabel was asked about potentially Stephon Diggs coming back.
Yep.
He said that he didn't shut it down, but he also said that it's not something that they're really looking into right now. So he said at the moment, not really thinking that's a direction they're going in here. Here's their direct quote. I don't think that's something that we're exploring, but I would never say no. So I would say they're leaving the door cracked, but my guess is that door is cracked in case, unfortunately, somebody gets hurt tomorrow and they have to completely change plans and change course. But I would say for the most part, as long as they get through camp and everything healthy in the preseason, it doesn't sound, at least based off of those comments, that a reunion with Stephon Diggs is imminent or in the works at all, but maybe something that they're keeping on the back burner just in case at this point.
Yeah, I mean, don't close the door unless you have to, basically.
Yeah. So speaking of additions to the roster, moving down here on the offense side, and we'll do defense. He did hint Mike Vrabel at a tight end addition. I mean, pretty much said that they will be adding a tight end. Now, that could mean anything from adding a body to adding
So,
Cole Kmet. Like there's
he
a
did say
wide variety there.
In that answer, he mentioned the numbers for training camp,
yeah.
which leads me to believe this is probably going to be some UDFA, some camp body.
Yeah.
I will say, though, I do have a name for you, and this guy might not sign till later, so they might have to add a camp body and then add this guy. And I said this first, and I was kidding. And then the more I thought about it, I was like, maybe I'm not kidding. How would you feel, Evan,
Yes.
if the Patriots signed Mercedes Lewis? He's not officially retired.
I mean, I'm okay with it. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say that's the worst idea ever, but
If you're just trying to
he's
straight up
41.
42.
Yeah.
Turned 42 in May. If you're just trying to one-for-one fill the role that we thought Julian Hill would fill, which is like 90% blocking,
Yeah.
and maybe even create something where it's more of a rotation with Eli Raridan rather than Eli Raridan being a true third tight end. Mercedes Lewis?
Well, I would just say that if the idea with Julian Hill was what I think it was going to be, like Julian Hill is a much more athletic player. Like Mercedes Lewis is a sixth offensive lineman, right?
Yeah.
Like that's the mold that you're going after, like late career Dwayne Allen. Like he's a true extra big body. Kind of like what I'm hoping that Tanner Arkin might develop into eventually. Julian Hill, I thought, was a much more athletic, much more versatile blocker. Somebody that could get up in space, get out to the second level, do different things like that were a little bit more flexible, come across the formation and crack guys, like stuff like that. Mercedes Lewis he's standing in there in line and he's digging out the defensive end, right? Like that's going to be his thing. Now, if they feel like they need that, then he's a guy that can do it. We've talked a little bit about some of these guys, right? Like Ferksker and
Ferksker signed.
Okay.
I think this is one where I go back to what Vrabel said today. I think today, before people get all excited, I saw some people tweeting about Kyle Pitts.
No, that's not.
I think what I inferred from what he said today was camp body. They need to get somebody else in here to run the drills, take snaps in the preseason.
Yeah.
What I would like to see them do, look, Tanner Arkin is intriguing. CJ Dupree is intriguing. I think what you do is you let those two guys prove that they can win the spot to start. And if you get to like the first preseason game and you're not seeing the growth you want from either of them, then you go out and, okay, maybe Mercedes Lewis is a bit extreme, but a guy like a John Fitzpatrick, Will Disley's out there. I don't know if these names make sense to you.
Johnny Smith, Farrah Brown.
McAllen Castles?
I'd probably rather go Disley route if he's healthy. I know he's dealt with some injuries.
But anyway, like, I think this is probably that third. I think they bring in a body for camp. They bring in some UDFA, and then you get Dupree and Arkin battling for that third spot. And if neither one of them pops, then they go look on the veteran market. Because some of these guys, too, again, a guy like Mercedes Lewis, maybe even a guy like Jonnu Smith, who's a little bit older, they might not be in a rush to sign.
Yeah.
Right? Do they want to come, especially Lewis? Like, is Lewis going to come do the first few days of training camp? He doesn't need to do that.
I don't need him to do it either.
Right.
Give it
like,
to the young guys.
You call him mid-August.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at with it.
Okay, so let me ask you this, though, about it, because you immediately jumped, and I'm not saying you're wrong, but you immediately jumped to the Arkins and the Duprees of the world. Are we not at all small c concerned that Raridan's not ready to be the backup tight end?
Well,
because I am a little bit, just because of the nature of the position.
Maybe
it's a lot to ask for a rookie, especially a guy that's a third round pick. We're not talking about somebody they drafted in the top 20, like a Tyler Warren or a Colson Loveland. We're talking about a player that had some development to do anyways. Like that was sort of the conversation around him with Raridan coming out of the draft, is that this is more of a developmental player. This is more of a project player at that position. It's not just if Hunter Henry gets hurt. It's also whether or not if two tight ends and 12 personnel is available to you too. Like, and maybe with Gilliam that sort of lessens that blow a little bit. But if you want to run two tight end packages and you want to run some 12 personnel, then Raridan's going to have a role like Austin Hooper had last year anyways, not even counting the injury insurance that he is to Hunter Henry. So are you ready to put the rookie in a spot where he could play a significant role out of the chute? And is he ready for that?
I need to see more for him. I don't doubt he can handle like a secondary pass catching role. That's the thing for me. It's more about the blocking.
Right.
What you're losing is, to what you said earlier, the idea that Julian Hill can maybe do both.
Yeah.
And so if between Arkin, or whether it's Arkin or Dupree, right? between that guy and Raritan, you have like the full complete tight end, right? So it's just completing. It's that blocking part that I have more faith, I think, in Raritan to be the receiver.
Right. Like, I have no doubt that.
But if you want him to play like 60% of snaps, no, you need somebody else. I don't know if he can be the blocker for that.
So last year, and I have a thought on Raritan, but last year, Austin Hooper as the second tight end without an injury to Henry played 49, almost 49.9. So basically 50% of the snaps last year as the second tight end. Now, they might not have used the fullback as much as they're going to use it this year because of, Westover, the upgrade from Westover to Gilliam. But that second tight end role in the NFL nowadays is still at least want to call it a rotational or a part-time player. And I just wonder where they're at with Raritan and his ability to do that. And if that's putting a little bit too much pressure and just too much, eggs in that basket to expect a third round pick to be able to do that right out of the chute, especially with the way that, you, I think, laid it out well about his blocking ability. Like, I think that's what's going to be the thing.
That's the bigger question.
It is a little bit slower. If they want to put Raritan on the field on 3rd and 8 because he's a dynamic receiver, I bet he probably will be. I think he'll probably be good enough at that right out of the chute. But when it's 1st and 10 and you feel like that week the best thing for you to do is to go 12 personnel and put both tight ends on the field, and it's 1st and 10 from the 25 in your based offense, like, can you put Eli Raritan and Hunter Henry together? Hunter Henry's a fine blocker. He's a passable blocker. He's not a very good blocker himself. Like, he's not a Rob Gronkowski either.
Blocker.
No. I would actually say sometimes he's a minus blocker, but he's at least passable at that position. Raritan, I don't know if he's even going to be passable. So you really don't have two guys that can really be inline blockers at a high level with either of those guys, which is why Julian Hill was signed. So I just wonder if, even though I agree that Vrabel's answer was more geared today towards depth at that position versus adding another guy into the mix, I wonder if they are at the point eventually where they have to think about, we really designed this for Raritan to be the third tight end and have a passing game role and kind of get his feet wet in the NFL as a rookie as he continues to develop his body and develop as a blocker. And this is going to just be asking too much of him if we have to put him in there at that much. We have also seen a lot of Jack Westover at tight end. And I think that might be a seniority, he knows what he's doing kind of thing, more than it is a talent kind of thing. But what do you make of that with Westover? Because I put it in the bucket of sometimes this time of year, the guy that's been on the team, that's been around longer, is going to get the reps over a Dupree, over an Arkin, over a player like that. Or do you think that Westover is in the mix?
Maybe. Again, if you're looking for the blocker, I don't know that he's as much of a blocker, so it makes it a little tougher. I think stylistically, Arkin and Dupree are probably more what you're looking for.
Yeah. All right. So that was tight end. Last thing on the offensive side, just want to talk a little bit about Caleb Lomu and his usage, obviously being the first-round pick. We've seen the offensive line that we've most commonly seen with Drake May from left to right: Campbell, Vera Tucker, Wilson, Onwenu, and then at right tackle, because Morgan Moses hasn't been here these last couple of days, it's been Caleb Lomu. Now, we know he's keeping the seat warm for Morgan Moses for the time being, but I actually think, two things. One, I think it's a good thing that Caleb Lomu is getting this work, because Morgan Moses at 35 years old certainly doesn't need the reps in the spring. So give him to Caleb Lomu to develop. But two, mostly right tackle, but maybe a couple of pitches on the left side too, not in place of Campbell necessarily.
No, it's with the second unit.
Yeah, rotating in on both sides, which cross-training you would expect if he's going to be the top swing tackle. Not a whole lot to glean in terms of what's actually happened from this time of year in the trenches. Who's playing well? I don't know. They're not hitting anybody. But what do you make of just the way that they started to use Lomu so far?
Cross-training him. That's what they told us. They're cross-training him. They're getting him ready, but it seems like they're primarily getting him ready for the right side. And look, Morgan Moses is out. It's going to be a chance for him to get a ton of reps on that right side and really get ready. And I don't know. I don't remember where you stand on this. I'm sure we talked about it after the draft. If you believe he can catch Moses by the start of the season and win that job for week 1, I think they'd probably like to wait if they can.
Yeah.
But going to have some time here to really work on his craft and set himself up well for camp.
I don't think that there's much of a chance of that. for two reasons. I think Morgan Moses' leadership in that room is really, really highly regarded. Now, you don't give the guy the job as a lesser talented player because he's captain material. That's not usually how it works, but it's a younger room. Jared Wilson and Will Campbell are in their second year. Lomu is a rookie. It's a little bit of a younger room, and Morgan Moses he's Unk. Like he is, he's really the leader in that room. I was talking to Doug Marone, and he was telling me just how much like Morgan Moses is such a wealth of knowledge, and like they just praising him up and down about how willing he is to share with younger players on the team. Not a lot of veteran guys, not all veteran guys, I should say, are willing to give their secrets out to the younger players because they know those guys are coming for their job. Like if you're Morgan Moses and you see Caleb Lomu, there's a lot of veteran players that would like out of spite not want to give Caleb Lomu any tips because he's going to take his job. But Morgan Moses is not that kind of guy. I think his play last year was probably the most consistent, maybe besides Onwenu on that offensive line. He was pretty much the only guy in the Super Bowl that didn't get pantsed by the Seahawks in that game. I thought that he was really solid all throughout the year last year. And with his veteran leadership, captain material kind of guy, I don't expect Lomu to catch him. I also think that Lomu needs to develop his body a little bit. That was one thing, even standing next to Campbell, that you see with him is that, we got to hit the protein shakes and hit the weight room a little bit more. That a year behind Moses, or at least half a season behind Moses, while he continues to eat that skinless chicken, as Paul Perillo would like to say, is probably for the best with him. But is there a world where Lomu is involved? Absolutely. Maybe it's a sixth offensive lineman role where they get his feet wet. Maybe, obviously he's going to be a top backup and all that kind of stuff. But it was interesting to see. And again, I'm not ready to evaluate what they looked like, but we did see a lot this week of Campbell, Vera Tucker, Wilson, Onwenu, Lomu.
Yep.
I don't know about Onwenu. Like, he might not be here long term. He readjusted his contract to stay here this year. But in theory, that's
4 or 5.
It's 4 or 5, right?
Yeah. And you can find a guard. I'm not super worried about them finding a starting right guard.
So we saw the future a little bit of what's going to be in front of Drake May, at least for the long-term future, and I think they're well set up there. That line has come a really, really long way from what we saw here, 23, 24 of those seasons. All right, let's talk a little bit of defense, and then I do have a special teams question for you, which I know you will appreciate.
I think I know what it is.
RB3, like, we're not ready. I don't know. Like, running backs this time of year.
Landon Larison's getting a lot of looks.
So we're still on Landon Larison Island with me? Okay. I wish he was a little bit more explosive. Like, when you see they throw screens to him and stuff out of the backfield, I wish there was a little bit more giddy up to pull away.
Maybe once the speed goes up, he'll show that more.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I like that confidence there. I think it was Sean McVay who said recently that you can't really evaluate running backs this time of year. It's really hard to even evaluate running backs in training camp. Like, that's a preseason type of thing.
Yeah.
In a regular season type of thing because of the tackling to the ground. So moving over to the defense, the two spots on the defense that I feel myself gravitating towards other than edge, looking at the depth, inside linebacker behind Spillane and Christian Ellis, and corner. Yep. I think safety, even though I know that Mike Brown's not a household name yet, and I'm not saying he's going to be Ed Reed or anything like that, but between Mike Brown and Del Pettis, like I'm starting to feel it's fine depth. It's better depth than I think they have it inside linebacker.
Can Mike Brown be Jalen Hawkins? Oh, I would agree with that. Can Mike Brown be Jalen Hawkins?
Right. Like, if he's Jalen Hawkins, and maybe he's not a starter. Like, last year, Jalen Hawkins played a ton of snaps. Like, I don't know if he's going to be that, but is he the third safety? Him and Del Pettis, the third and fourth safeties. It's not... They don't have great depth there, but I'm not as concerned about it as some of the other places on the roster. Inside linebacker, is it KJ Britt? Is it Chad Muma? Does Obi Izor make a push at some point? Does Khalil Jacobs, UDFA, make a push at some point? Those are the guys that are kind of vying for those spots. But I do come back to it. Maybe we didn't feel this way about Jack Gibbons until we got into the season and saw that he could be serviceable either. But Spillane, as he was last year, honestly, Spillane is just such a key part of this defense. If they lose Spillane, I don't know what linebacker looks like behind a guy like Spillane. Like, I don't know if they have another guy that can even, give you 80% of what Robert Spillane brings to the table. It's a spot where the depth there is a little bit thin. Maybe it's Britt. Maybe he's the Jack Gibbons of this roster. But what have you seen just in terms of mixing and matching there?
I mean, KJ Britt definitely showed us, I think, a little bit in OTAs. After him, yeah, I'm with you. Not a ton has stood out. It's tough in this setting. It's another position where it's tough in this setting, but yeah, it's still like it feels like a drop off from last year.
It does. It feels like a drop off a little bit in that corner. And look, I fully admit that when you get mossed by AJ Brown, that's not anything to hold,
Right.
Be dropping your head at in terms of Kendall Vildor. But Kendall Vildor, Kobe Minor, that group, Keyshawn Prunty, they got picked on a little bit yesterday. Yesterday, I felt like those three guys, without Gonzalez, Carlton Davis is Carlton Davis. Him and Marcus Jones were playing at the normal level that they always play at. But it seemed like whenever, as you probably could imagine, whoever Carlton Davis and Marcus Jones wasn't, that was where Drake May was throwing the ball. Whoever was that rotating corner spot where Gonzalez usually is. And obviously it's not a problem if all three of those guys are healthy. But corner depth behind Gonzalez, Davis, Marcus Jones, how do we feel about that right now?
That's still lacking a little bit. They seem to really like Kendall Vildor. I think he's going to get a shot.
Kind of like the Mike Brown of the corners.
Right. I am still a little intrigued by Karan Prunty, and he was getting some run today, and I want to see what he can do.
He's got some good length. Like, he's got a good size to him. There's some things in technique-wise and coverage that he needs to improve.
He has the uncoachables. Now, a guy that's, 23, and he doesn't have the same ceiling as a player that's maybe 20 or 21, right? He's a couple years older, but good, like you said, good athlete, good size. I know it's different coaching staff. They have a long history here of coaching up corners that have the natural tools.
Yeah.
Or even some that don't, frankly.
Yeah.
So I'm still a little intrigued by him.
Yeah. You definitely notice his length, his arm length, and just sort of his size. He's got a good frame. If they can develop his technique, his instincts, that type of stuff, there might be something there. The defensive line has been pretty consistently the top group, in base, Barmore, Durden at the nose, and Milton Williams. I kind of am buying a little bit of Corey Durden stock. Like, okay. I think that the Corey Durden thing might, now not based off of practice, we're not really watching it for that purpose right now, but I kind of feel like that might be legit. I think Corey Durden's been a good player, under the radar player last year and with the Rams. I feel like he's got a little bit of something. I'll buy some Corey Durden stock. The last question that I had for you that I wanted to ask you, and then we'll open up the show to all the calls and emails because we're getting tons of emails and calls. I see all of them. There's a tryout punter here, Alex Barth.
Yep.
You were intrigued by what you saw yesterday a little bit.
He was kicking the crap out of the ball.
You were telling me.
He was putting good power into it. I was surprised when I looked at his college numbers last year. They didn't reflect what, I saw him punt 15 times, but good foot on the ball. He's back here today.
Yeah.
So they're still looking, and they brought Mitch McCarthy in a rookie minicamp. They didn't ultimately sign him, but it does feel like they're looking for some competition for Bryce Behringer. Whether McCarthy ends up back here, whether it's Devin Bale, who's the kid that's here now, where they go find somebody else. It does seem like the goal is to have somebody here for training camp competing with Bryce Behringer. Does Bale show him enough? I don't know. I think a lot of that, they didn't do team punch drills today. I think some of that's going to be in the meeting room and things like that. And we can't even really see where the specialists are working out now that they're on the low field.
Yeah.
It's tougher to tell, but it does seem like they want another punter here for sure. They just have to, it's just, who is it?
Good competition. I thought, you were tracking hang times. You were in your element. He
had some boomers. Let me go back.
He had a couple over 5 seconds, right?
Yeah, I had him with a 5.15 and a 5.05. I did also have Behringer to 5.10, so.
You could hear the ball off his foot.
You can, yeah, no, it's true.
I'm not a punter guy. I don't pretend to know a ton about punting, but there's a certain sound when you hear a good punter punt the football, that pop off the foot, and I definitely could hear that with this kid. So maybe there's a little bit, at least competition. I don't know if he's the guy, but at least there's some competition there. All right, we're going to take a quick break. Hopefully I think that about does it. That was emptying my notebook.
I think that pretty much covered everything.
And then we'll get to the calls and emails after the break, and you guys can ask us your questions. We'll be right back.
Come welcome our newest restaurant additions at Patriot Place. Estella brings a celebration of flavors with a modern fusion menu, exciting cocktails, and brunch available daily beginning at 11 a.m. Enjoy freshly brewed coffee and Mediterranean-inspired breakfast and lunch from Angel's Cafe. Craving the classics? Chick-fil-A makes it easy to grab your favorite with mobile through, carry-out, and dine-in options. Download the Patriot Place Advantage app for special offers and to earn rewards every time you visit. Patriot Place. Shop, dine, enjoy.
The heaviest metal credit card of all time. Wielded at business dinners like a samurai sword. It's a classic corporate power move. But the real power move? Having end-to-end visibility on your most critical shipments. FedEx, the new power move.
Whether you're in the game or betting on the game, you'll need a game plan. DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of the New England Patriots, provides you with everything you need to build your personal betting game plan so you can get in on all the action while practicing safe bets. Visit DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming to learn more about all the safe betting tools DraftKings has to offer. Hope is here, 800-327-5050 or gamblinghelplinema.org. Must be 21 plus. Play it smart from the start. GameSenseMA.com. Physically present in Massachusetts. See DraftKings.com/responsible-gaming for details and state-specific responsible gambling resources.
Isn't it time to get exactly what you want? Welcome to Red Hot Deal Days from Verizon, where you get your pick of our best deals. Like My Plan, where you can pick the perks you want and save on every one. For limited time, bring your own phones to a Verizon store and you can get My Plan for our best price ever. Get exactly what you want in your phone plan and only pay for what you need. Bring your phones to your Verizon store today and get My Plan. These deals won't last. It's your Verizon.
If you're gonna play the game, boy, you gotta learn to play it right.
DraftKings is all about responsible gaming. It's more fun when it's for fun. So play responsibly. DraftKings, the crown is yours.
Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. 21 plus. Age and eligibility varies by jurisdiction.
Catch-22. Catch-22.
Alex, are you already dreaming of football season? You and I are always dreaming of football season. It's the only thing we think about. Bob's Discount Furniture can help. Shop Bob's selection of top-rated Consumer Reports recommended mattresses like the premium Copper Radiance, which boasts an individually wrapped coil system for peaceful post-game Z's, and the Treasure Duel, which over 1,000 fans say gives them 5-star sleep. So stop in or shop online to score big on a better sleep setup with Bob's Discount Furniture, the official furniture store of the New England Patriots. I just did some soul searching, Alex and Ace, during the break. I do need to stop cursing on the air. I need to clean this up. This is,
and
I'm taking the coaching.
Clean up your act, Bubby.
And I'm dead serious. Like, I need to do a better job at this. We all have things that we can improve. This is on my list. And I'm going to tell the listeners right now, no more foul language out of this mouth. You can wash it out with soap if I swear again.
Evan, I'm very effing proud of you.
Thank you. I wanted to own that. Even though that one was like a soft version of the former one. But all of them are bad, and I'm gonna stop doing it. All right, that's my goal. All right, let's get to the phones here. Patty is in Agawam. What's up, Patty?
What's up, guys?
How we doing?
No apologies necessary, Evan. It's kind of Catch-22 after hours anyway, because you guys are normally on at 12. It's 4.
That's a good point. It's after 9 p.m., so you have to expect to hear some things.
So I had a weird question. It's more of a NFL question as opposed to the Patriots question. But I think we kind of bit a big bullet a couple of years ago. But do you guys think that Brandon Ayuk is kind of committing career suicide with all this crap he's posting about the 49ers? I mean, if you guys were GMs, would you sign this guy to any sort of big deal? Just considering like he got almost close to $50 million from the Niners, and then he's completely debasing them. And I don't know, if I was running a team, I wouldn't sign the guy. But even if I was a team like Washington, I wouldn't bring this guy on for more than like 1 year at the league minimum. Just wanted to get your guys' opinion on that, and I'll take it off here. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks, Patty. There's a lot of, what's that called? Revolving door moments, right?
Yeah.
Brandon Ayuk,
butterfly effect.
Calvin Ridley, like some of these guys that the Patriots did make Chris Godwin, like that they did make real runs at.
Right.
That didn't come to fruition. And at the time, we were all probably pretty bummed that they didn't land those players. And as it turns out, I mean, maybe not so much with Ridley. I think Ridley would have been a nice ad even at the time. But with Ayuk, the only thing I would say about Ayuk is I just hope he gets help. Like, it seems like the guy needs help. Like, seriously, on a serious note.
Yes.
I think that he needs, before we start talking about would I sign him in football and all that kind of stuff and would teams sign him, his behavior looks to me like somebody that is in need of some real help. So I hope he gets it, and I hope he gets, then he gets, once he gets his mental health in order, then he can play football again because he's a hell of a football player. And so I always hate to see that happen to any guy, whether it's him or Antonio Brown or whatever,
right.
That's the way that the career goes. So would a team sign him right now? Probably not.
Well, I think he's still technically under contract
with the 49ers. They at least have
him, right?
They at least have his rights. Like they're at least in control of the player.
They have to trade for him.
Yeah. I would say no. But I would say that most importantly that I hope that Brandon Ayuk gets his life back.
Right,
in order.
gets whatever help he needs, whether it's on the football field or not.
Yeah. All right. Nate is in Connecticut. What's up, Nate? Nate, you still there? We left him on hold for a while. Nate, you can call back and we'll get you right on. Eldred's here. What's up, Eldred? I like that you're back in the truck these days, Eldred. That's good. Got that bag.
Yeah, very good for me. Yes. I got two questions for you. One is, don't you think somebody didn't do the homework on Akis? I mean, fully? Because even with the injury, or if he had an injury or procedure, you can't come to the facility. That to me, that is a big red flag from Jump Street. And the second question is, I hate to see Booty go, but everybody keep putting in Hollins and all that stuff. Why not the older person and then use one of your UFDA with speed, and that way you got speed in the receiver. Train behind, like he's the third, fifth, or sixth receiver, that he gets rest behind Brown and Dobbs. That's all I got to ask, and I'll take it off the air.
Sure. Thanks for the call, Eldred, as always. So to the second question first, I think the thing with Matt Collins, along with the fact that he's a versatile player, and we actually have an email that I want to get to about him as well, along with the fact that I like his skill set, especially with Drake May, Matt Collins is okay with being the fourth or fifth receiver in the wide receiver room.
Right. Matt Collins isn't worried about his next contract.
Right.
And
So, Matt Collins has been that guy his whole career, as is just kind of this guy that's a rotational player and a great locker room guy and a great, kind of personality to have on the team and a veteran leader. And he knows his role. He knows why he's here. Kayshon Boutte is looking for that next contract. He's there in very, very different chapters in their NFL career. So I agree with Eldred on the surface that Kayshon Boutte is a better player probably right now at this point than Matt Collins, but is he a better fit in the room than Matt Collins
No, for
is?
what you have ahead of him, I think Matt Collins is a better fit. I've seen that question too. It's just it's a tough sell to keep Boutte here. It just is.
Yeah. To his first point about Akis, I don't know if they missed anything or not, but you mentioned it earlier when we were talking about Gabe Akis. Just being a body language doctor, the body language from Mike Vrabel yesterday on the topic when he was getting questions from the media about it was not great. So I don't know what happened. I don't know if they missed something, didn't miss something, whatever. But right now,
disagreement on treatment. You hear
yeah,
that sometimes.
there's just something's up. Something's up. We know that. All right. Jay is in Atlanta. What's up, Jay? Jay, you there?
Jay, what's up?
Going once. All right. Give us a call back. Herm is in D.C. What's up, Herm?
Hey, what's going, boys?
Hey.
Two quick questions for you guys. So the first question is, so cover 6 seems to be coverage that, if any coverage at all, that seems to give Drake May the most problems. So my first question was, what are you guys' thoughts on how obviously AJ Brown will help him right against that coverage? I don't know if it's a obviously personnel thing or more so like a scheme thing. That's something obviously you can elaborate. You guys can elaborate on. And my second question is this, right? Obviously, I don't want to relitigate the past. I should let the past rest. But if you guys could help me understand, and again, obviously, that's no knock on N'Keal Harry, right? Obviously, whatever. But I guess what was Bill Belichick's mindset when he picked N'Keal Harry over, I guess, A.J. Brown specifically? It seems they're really, the same body type. And I looked up the stats this morning. I mean, they had comparable stats coming out of their respective schools. So if you could help me understand what, I guess, that Bill Belichick's specifically thought process was when he picked him over A.J. Brown, specifically because they seem to be the same body type.
Yeah.
So I'll take it up there and listen. Thank you.
Thanks, Herm. Two good questions. So I wanted the cover 6 question is a great question.
Yeah.
And I've thought about this a lot, probably too much, more than I should, honestly, of why that specific coverage. It was, I believe, the lowest EPA per attempt or per dropback that Drake May had of any coverage in basically any coverage you can run in football was cover 6, which is quarter, half. So it's quarters or cover 4 to one side. So it's 2 high safeties to one side or 2 high players to one side, and then cover 2 to the back side. So you have a cloud corner, you have a corner underneath, and a safety over the top on one side of the field, and then you're playing quarters, usually to the passing strength side of the field. So you have basically 3 guys over the top, but it's not like cover 3 because it's like tilted right to one side of the field a little bit. Some of the things that I've theorized about this, I don't know for a fact, and hopefully at some point I'll get to ask, Drake May or Josh McDaniels or Ashton Grant or somebody about it. But in Josh McDaniels' system and in a lot of systems, typically routes convert based off of the shell of the coverage. Yeah. And the quarterback is going to start on the progression sometimes, not always, but sometimes the quarterback starts on the side of the progression based off the coverage shell as well. So the shell meaning where the safeties are aligned. Are they aligned in a split safety coverage, or are they aligned in a single high safety coverage like cover 3 or cover 1? So when he sees cover 6, my gut is telling me that maybe that messes up with their process of how are these routes converting? Are we treating this as split safety? Are we treating this, where are we starting in the progression? That sort of thing. And so you see him hold the ball. You know, now some of the reason why I think he struggles against cover 6, just to be honest, is that a lot of the best defenses in the league happen to run cover 6.
Struggling against good defense.
So like if Seattle ran it a lot in the Super Bowl, they're a great defense. They're great at executing it. So some of it is just about the personnel that the other team has, and the other team deserves credit too. But I do wonder if some of the differences, McDaniels' system is a coverage read system. So the progressions are based off the coverage. If they're in 2 high, we're going here with our eyes. If they're in single high, we're going here with our eyes. If it's zone, we're going there. If it's man, we're going here. In other systems, they're just pure progression reads. It's just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just who's open, right? We're throwing to whoever's open. This is much more, sophisticated than that. And sometimes these combination coverages, match coverages, where they're carrying guys, they're passing off guys like it's zone. If they're going underneath, they're carrying verticals. They're changing pictures post-snap. There's another defense, as I'm going on this rant, that had this issue. Brady had a lot of issues with Buffalo's defense at times under Sean McDermott because they ran a lot of match cover too. So they would carry verticals, they would pass off zone, underneath routes, usually at like 6 or 8 yards. They make that declaration. And a lot of what would happen, they disguise it all up. And post-snap, they would just change everything up. And the picture would change on the quarterback and the receivers. And so it really had it sometimes was a struggle for Brady and for McDaniels against that kind of defense. So I wonder if there's a little bit of the coverage read versus progression read sort of thing in that whole conversation where Drake May is, expecting when he opens up, he's expecting to see a certain coverage, and maybe he's seeing something a little bit different, or the routes convert a little bit different against different looks and all those different types of things. So I actually think that that's something when Josh McDaniels and Mike Vrabel talk about having fresh ideas and new ideas, I would say beating cover 6 has got to be near the top of the list.
Yeah.
Because the two things that Drake May struggled a little bit against, especially when the opponents got better, were all-out pressure, like cover 0 blitzes and cover 6. And so what is every team on their schedule that has the horses to execute it well going to do all of next year? They're going to run cover 6 and they're going to run pressure. And so at that point, like that becomes a blueprint, and you have to be able to beat the blueprint. So really good question. I think that's something that I think about a ton because I'm a nerd. But I hope that they're thinking about it a ton too, and I'm sure they are down the street as well. To his second question, revisiting N'Keal Harry versus AJ Brown. We both covered the team at the time.
Yeah,
it was.
I think that was the first draft we worked together.
It was pretty surprising, if I remember correctly, that they drafted a receiver at all because Belichick never had.
Right.
It's the first time they had ever drafted a receiver in the first round. Now it was the 32nd.
We
pick.
thought they were going to. Who did we think they were going to take?
I don't remember.
I think we were looking. Well, Drew Lock was one of them.
We thought you were going to take a quarterback.
Yeah.
We did?
Yeah, it was like late stage Brady, get the next guy in the room.
Okay, maybe. Yeah, I don't remember that. I don't remember.
I was big into Drew Lock. There were a bunch of tackles I think we were talking about.
So.
No, because they'd taken Isaiah Wynn the year before. I don't remember. Oh, Irv Smith was a big one.
Yep, the tight end from Alabama, right? Yep. Didn't have a great NFL career.
J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Remember a lot of people talking about it. Andy Isabella. I don't think these probably weren't projected first round picks. But
so I would say the biggest. I can't justify it, honestly. The reporting at the time and the aftermath was, if you want to believe like the sort of vindictive side of Bill Belichick, was that AJ Brown posted a Snapchat or something like that of him in the parking lot here and kind of broke the news that he was on the visit on his own personal social media. And they didn't like that too much. If you want to believe that, N'Keal Harry knocked his visit out of the park and was like kind of just great in the building, great on the whiteboard, had a really good 30 visit. AJ Brown, maybe they didn't feel had quite as good of a visit. Sometimes that swayed it. If you want to look football-wise, because it's so hard to look football-wise when you're comparing N'Keal Harry to AJ Brown. But if you want to look football-wise, like maybe a little bit more size, like just in terms of height, like literally just height. I think N'Keal Harry was like, 6'3", 6'4".
Yeah.
AJ Brown's like 6'1" on a good day. I can't really come up with a great football reason for it, but they were in the same sort of mold. Like they were similar players, I would say.
That's part of what the surprise was he was so not their prototype. I think you had said at the time, and I still feel this way. The real second guess, if you put yourself in that moment, and it's really easy to second guess AJ Brown or Debo, that was DK Metcalf, right?
Yeah.
Like these guys that we just saw become stars.
Yeah.
But they didn't fit the profile. Now you could argue, okay, they should have drifted from the profile of receiver they were drafting because it wasn't working. Fine, but they had a type. They kept drafting that type. AJ Brown wasn't that type. Neither was N'Keal. The second guess was Terry McLaurin.
Yeah.
Because Terry McLaurin was there. Like, Terry McLaurin would not have been out of place for them as a wide receiver pick.
Yeah.
N'Keal was. AJ Brown would have been. DK Metcalf would have been. Terry McLaurin was the kind of wide receiver they'd been drafting the whole time. But then look at what he became, obviously.
Yeah.
You want the consensus mock for the Patriots that year?
2019.
Yeah, so at the draft, the most popular mocked player to the Patriots, this one actually makes a lot of sense, was Irv Smith. But there wasn't a strong consensus. He was only at 17%. The next most common mock picks for them were Noah Fant, Jeffrey Simmons, Jerry Tillery, Drew Lock, and Will Grier.
So I was a big Tillery guy. Now that you are jogging my memory, I remember being pretty high on Tillery, and he was like a classic Belichick 2-gapping 3-4 defensive end type of player. I remember that. The biggest thing to me with N'Keal Harry, and I think that maybe this is somewhat relevant to the Patriots today, although Drake May is a different kind of quarterback, obviously, than Tom Brady. My whole thing that I didn't understand with the way they approach drafting receivers is what they should have really been looking for was a more athletic Jacoby Myers, like a player that had that cerebral ability, that had Jacoby Myers had a quarterback background. Maybe it's a guy with a quarterback background, but basically Jacoby Myers, but like hopefully with a higher ceiling and a better athletic profile. And instead they drafted a guy like N'Keal Harry, who was slower and couldn't run routes and didn't really know how to run a great, diverse route tree, and it just wasn't a system fit. They draft Tyquan Thornton, and I know it's a little bit of a different system, but same general system. They draft Tyquan Thornton, who's a one-trick, speedster, Like they didn't. To me, that was it. And maybe they tried to do that with Jalen Polk, and that also didn't work. But that was AVP, and that was not the same offense. We'll see. But like to me, that was always this biggest second guess with Belichick is like, okay, so you could identify Jacoby Myers, you can identify Julian Edelman at the back end of the draft. Just draft that guy, but draft it with a 4-4 instead of a 4-6.
Right, yeah.
Like I don't know why that had to be so difficult.
So Mock Draft Database has a couple other mocks here from 2019. Some networks I've never heard had them going Jerry Tillery and Debo Samuel with their first two.
Yeah, Tillery was popular.
Dexter Lawrence and Debo Samuel. Dexter Lawrence and Nasir Adderley. Phil Perry had a good one. Caleb McGarry and Dawson Knox. He had them trading back.
Two good players.
Taking McGarry and then Dawson Knox. Caleb McGarry and Terry McLaurin from Andrew Callahan. That was his mock.
Okay.
Well done. Pat's Pulpit, whoever was doing it for them, had Clellan Farrell and JJ Arcega-Whiteside. And then we
Farrell ended up going top 10.
Yeah, we have the final mock draft from CLNS Media and Evan Lazar in 2019.
Yeah.
First round, Jerry Tillery.
Yeah, I knew I was high on Tillery.
You had 2 second-round picks, Dalton Reisner and Will Greer.
Okay.
You had them taking Jace Sternberger and Mecole Hardman both in the 3rd round.
I really like Jace Sternberger.
You really liked Sternberger. I remember that.
Yep.
4th round, Jalen Hurd.
Yep.
6th round, Saquon Hampton. You had to get a Rutgers safety in there.
Sure.
And then 7th round, Dontavius Russell, a defensive lineman from Auburn. Joshua Nijman, a tackle from Virginia Tech. Otaro Alaka, a linebacker from A&M.
Joshua Nijman went on to have a really good NFL career.
Did he?
Yeah.
Where?
Yeah,
I don't remember him.
He's kind of like a journeyman, but
okay.
Good, solid
and
offensive line.
Finally, Nick Easley, wide receiver from Iowa.
Okay, so I knew I was in on Tillery once you mentioned that name. I just had forgot about.
I mean, Tillery, Reisner, Greer, and then you had Mecole Hardman in the 3rd. Like,
would have been fine. Jay Sternberger would have been a big swing and a miss, but
I think we both really liked.
I think
Sternberger.
the NFL really liked Jay Sternberger too.
Josh Nijman, playing in the league up until last year.
Yeah, no, solid player. Like,
yeah, he just retired.
Yeah. All right.
He ended up going undrafted. It was a good career for an undrafted player.
I like that exercise because it holds us accountable. Shows us some of our misses, which I feel like people ask about all the time. Like, who are the guys that we really whiffed on?
I don't think I published one in 2019. I'll see what more of yours I can find, and I'll see if I can find some of mine.
If we have time in one of these dead off-season shows, maybe we can go through some of these. And
after that, they only have ones from 2023. That's too recent.
That's too I got too recent. I was working here by that point. So, Mike is in the car. What's up, Mike? Mike.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Hey, how we doing?
First time, long time. Thanks for taking the call.
Thanks for calling in.
I just wanted to ask about, thanks. I just wanted to ask about Travion Henderson. When he was drafted, I feel like there was a lot of talk about him being, kind of a swift leg back where he could catch just as well as he could run and be a really versatile element of the pass game. I feel like last year, I don't have the stats on this, but Ramondre caught more passes than he did. And, I know OTAs and stuff is basically like a passing camp. So I'm just curious, what have you guys seen from him in terms of, like, has he been catching passes? Has he been used a certain way? And then what way would you like to see him be used maybe in the future? But thanks for the call, guys.
Thanks for the call, Mike, and thanks for listening.
Last year, Henderson caught 35 passes in 17 games. Ramondre caught 32 in 14 games.
So I think the number one biggest thing that I would like to see Travion Henderson do more is run vertical routes out of the backfield. Yep. I mean, with that kind of speed, if you can get him on a wheel route, you can get him, get him into the seams, anything really vertically up the field. I think he could be a nightmare for linebackers. All of these things about diversifying his role and having him be more of a complete player, though, come back to pass blocking.
Yeah.
Like, if he can't pass block, he's not going to be on the field on 3rd down. If he's not on the field on 3rd down, he's not going to do all the things that we want to see him do. I think he could be a really effective player on vertical routes. I think he can be an effective player on screens. I thought at times on screens last year, his pacing was a little bit off. He was moving a little too fast.
Yeah.
He's got to let his blocks, develop a little bit more. But in theory, I don't think that Travion Henderson's issues or lack of production in the passing game was because of his receiving ability. I think it was because of his blocking ability. And if he can't block better, then they're not going to put him on the field. And Ramondre is one of the best pass blockers in the league at that position. So it's not just that you have to be better in terms of Travion Henderson, but you have to at least be in the ballpark of Ramondre Stevenson to make your play speed worth it to put it on the field. So that would be my big thing with Henderson. And he talked about that. Was it last week when we talked to him? That those were the areas this time of year in these passing camps that he was really working on. And I think that's spot on. Like him being a better pass blocker, better in blitz pickup, will allow them to unlock things. I go back to, I know, this wasn't here, so a lot of people weren't there, but when we were in Minnesota last year for the joint practices, he caught a wheel route out of the backfield in one of the team periods. Had to have been like a 65-yard touchdown.
Yeah.
And he just was gone. And I remember the Vikings media had talked with Brian Flores, and it came up with Brian Flores, and Brian Flores was just blown away by TreVeyon Henderson. I think Devin McCourty might have mentioned it on the broadcast of that preseason game. I would love to be able to see more of that and see more of his field stretching ability out of the backfield, but he's got to be able to block. So, that's the biggest thing to me. That's his, in my opinion. I know a lot of people talk about him running the ball and the reads inside and things. I don't ever really fully expect him to be a great interior runner. But I would really like to see his game develop in terms of the passing game.
And he's such a good screen player.
Yeah.
But you got to be able to block to be out there in the passing game, for sure.
Yep. Sean is in Vancouver. What's up, Sean?
Yeah, hi.
Hey.
Stephon Diggs had an amazing season. I couldn't have expected him to do any better. Over 1,000 yards, great leadership, amazing, caught like everything thrown to him. But the Patriots managed him to be successful and maintain his playing time throughout the year by just having him do less than 55% of the snaps. He's not a run blocker, so he's not going to be on the field when they're running the ball. Well, A.J. Brown, I see differently. I mean, he had, 85% snap play with the Eagles last season. He's bigger. He can run block. I can see him being on the field, even like in 22 personnel. If he's the lone receiver, he might be the one. So I think it'll be different. I mean, I don't expect him to have the crazy efficiency that Diggs had, but I think the Patriots will play Brown quite a bit differently than they did Diggs, and I'll leave you with that.
Thanks, Sean. Yeah, I mean, he's a different kind of player, and I think the part that excites me, not that there's anything wrong with how Diggs got to 1,000 yards last year, but what excites me about A.J. Brown is that, him being a true X and that ability to stretch the field, but also take coverage away from the middle of the field. You still have guys like Romeo Doubs, Hunter Henry, Pop Douglas, if he's on the field, that can really win in those intermediate areas in between the numbers. And A.J. Brown taking number one corner attention, maybe taking safety attention with him, is really just going to open it up. Whereas with the Patriots last year, it was kind of like clamped down on the middle of the field, kind of like the old Brady playbook at times, where Diggs was sort of the engine. I think in some ways it's easier to double guys that are inside versus double guys that are outside because you can bracket them when they're inside.
Right.
Whereas when you double a guy on the outside, and I don't know if A.J. Brown at this point of his career is like truly a bracket player. Like, I don't know if he's that A.J. Brown, 1,600-yard A.J. Brown anymore. But when you double a guy on the outside, it's basically like you're pulling. Now you have to cover everybody else with only 9 guys, right? Like you're taking a lot more. You're creating a lot more space between the numbers by doing that. Whereas if Diggs is inside, you can kind of just put a corner on him, give him the linebacker in the middle of the field as sort of a help defender, give him the safety over the top, and he's really kind of bracketed in there on the inside. Good defenses can do that and kind of take away those types of guys. It's a lot harder to take away the outside guy, by my opinion.
It's just spacing.
Yeah, so
it all comes down to spacing.
I think that's what excites me the most about Brown. But one of the other things that Sean mentioned was him playing a lot of snaps in Philly, especially if they maintain their depth. We'll see about Kayshon Boutte. I actually expect them to manage him a lot more.
They'll manage him more. I don't. What percentage did he play last year?
I think Sean said like 88%, which sounds about right. Almost 90%.
I think his number should be higher than 55%.
Oh, 100%.
I think he should still be in like the 70s. He played 91%.
Yeah, it's a lot.
Between the 15 games. So
yeah,
he should be on the field more than Diggs was.
Yeah, he definitely will be on the field more than Diggs was, but I do think that they will try to manage him better than Philly did.
Yep.
Now, Philly, at times, he's kind of just running wind sprints and taking attention out there. It's not like he's really, and I think, he got some flack for the fact that he took some routes off, but it's like, well, he's a decoy. Like, it's what he's doing. So that happens. Matt is in Tennessee. What's up, Matt?
Hey guys, how y'all doing?
Good.
Hey.
Hey, so I'm super excited about this AJ Brown thing, but I have to ask y'all. So this Christian Gonzalez situation is really bothering me. So my question to you guys is, when do you guys see this being resolved? And if it's not resolved, how far into the season do you think this may go, or how do you think it would affect Christian Gonzalez's play for the year? I'll let y'all answer that. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. I have no inside information, but
yeah,
I would think that the idea would be for both sides to get this done by the start of training camp. Now, maybe it will be the day before. They report on the 24th. Maybe he's signing the contract on the 24th, and they agree to it on the 23rd. But I think the idea would be to get it done by the start of training camp. Most of the time, and I'm not saying that this is a great way to do business, but most of the time, a player in Christian Gonzalez's situation is going to play. Like I don't think he's going to hold out into the regular season and lose game checks and things like that. That's very, very rare.
So again, the timeline from last year with the 2022 class, the year before Gonzalez. Derek Stingley signed on March 27th. He was first. Tyler Smith and Charles Cross signed the last week of April. Garrett Wilson signed on July 14th. Sauce Gardner signed on July 15th. Kyle Hamilton, who participated in minicamp and training camp, didn't sign till August 27th.
Yeah.
He didn't sign till after camp. And then you had guys signed into the season. Aiden Hutchinson, now he's coming off an injury. He signed on October 29th.
Yeah.
To take it a step further, the one other notable corner from that first round, Trent McDuffie never signed. Trent McDuffie played the whole year extension eligible, then got traded, and then obviously got the extension after he got traded. So, yeah, I look at some point in July, probably closer to camp than not, I think is a more realistic timeline. I've said this. The point I actually start to worry a little bit is if he's not out there for padded practices.
Yeah.
That's where I would start to worry.
Yeah, that's how I feel about it is, again, like we said earlier on in the show, if they were worlds apart in this negotiation and it was starting to turn sour, I just don't think he would be participating at any level in minicamp.
Right.
I know that he hasn't done any live team drills or 11-on-11s, but even going through the walkthroughs in his normal spot, on the other side of Carlton Davis with the starting defense, and then going and doing a press conference after the practice with the Patriots gear and the Patriots backdrop. Like, I don't think that this is a situation at this point where he's considering holding out of camp or we're worlds away from him holding out of games, right? So I don't know. I think right now they're tracking for it to get done.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll get there, if they'll get it across the finish line, but I feel like that's where it's tracking to go. Let's answer some of these emails
real quick, because I did it too. You want some old mock drafts?
Yeah, give me a couple.
Okay, this is me in 2020.
Oh, good.
So this was the Kyle Duggar draft.
This was the COVID year, so this is a tough one.
Yeah, I think I did this just before I got furloughed. Yeah. First round, Xavier McKinney.
Yeah.
Second round, Cole Kmet.
Okay.
Third round, Michael Pittman. Fourth round, Shane Lemieux. Sixth round, Muhammad Berry, Tyler Bass. Seventh round, Alex Taylor, Stanford Samuels, and Brian Lewerke, who did end up a Patriot as a UDFA.
Not bad.
McKinney, Kmet, Pittman, off the rip, pretty good.
Yeah, Pittman was a good one.
And then I found a couple of my 2021 ones as well. So this is the Mac Jones year.
Yeah.
I had them sticking and picking a linebacker, Patrick Queen.
Good player.
Then trading up for Cole. Oh, wait, maybe this was 2020 because I have Cole Kmet again. This might be data. Was Patrick Queen 2020?
I don't remember. I thought he was 21. When you said it,
no, okay, this is dated wrong. This was 2020. It says it was posted in 21. But so Patrick Queen, Cole Kmet, Shane Lemieux. This is actually very similar. Van Jefferson. I think we were both really into Van Jefferson.
You really liked Cole Kmet.
I did. Tanner Muse, Tyler Bass,
Tanner Muse,
Olenwole Batico.
I remember Tanner Muse was a name that came up a lot on our shows at that point.
Okay, here is a 2021 one.
Okay.
So this was the Mac Jones class. I did not have them taking a quarterback. No, I was
Christian Barmore.
I had one with Mac Jones, but I think this was like they recommitted to Cam, and I was like, all right, I guess I'm not going to take a quarterback.
Yeah.
Christian Darrisaw.
Okay.
Eric Stokes. Demetric Felton.
Yeah.
Jonathan Allen. Kyrus Tonga.
Demetric Felton. We everybody loved it. Demetric Felton.
Now, Kyrus Tonga.
Nice.
Felipe Franks and
Felipe Franks was you loved Felipe Franks.
Yeah.
You were so into that position switch.
And then who was this? So this is weird. This one's only the pictures because it got posted weird. Grant Stewart, I think is what this guy's name was.
So
he was like Grant Stewart. He's still in the league. He was an undersized linebacker from Houston. He was like a special teams guy. He's on the Rams now.
There was another name you mentioned there that read it to me again.
Jonathan Adams.
Oh no, Darrisaw. Darrisaw is one of those guys that like when you want to. If you want to like set your eyes to try to do some of your own like at home scouting, if you want to watch what a first round tackle is supposed to look like, go watch Christian Darrisaw in college. Like his college tape was dominant, like absolutely dominant. He's been a great NFL player. I know he was hurt last year, right? He got banged up.
Yeah.
But he's been a dominant college tape. Like when you turned on Christian Darrisaw, where was it? Virginia Tech?
Yes.
Yeah, he was just mauling dudes, and I was like, wow, this is what it's supposed to look like. He went a couple picks ahead of them, right? 13th, 12th, 13th.
I think so, yeah, because it was him and another tackle went back to back, him and Slater.
Yeah. Stud player.
Oh no, did Darrisaw go before them? Slater went 13th.
I thought he went before them.
Darrisaw went, because that was also the Penei Sewell here.
And Vera Tucker. Vera Tucker went
Wow, what a draft. No, Darrisaw went 23rd.
Oh, wow.
So it was...
I must have gotten him in...
Sewell went 7th.
Yeah.
Slater went 13th.
Yeah.
I was getting them mixed up that whole year. Alex Leatherwood went 17th.
Jeez, Raiders.
Darrisaw went 23rd. And then that was it for tackles in the first round. Tevin Jenkins went 39th. Liam Eichenberg in the second round, too. Actually, Walker Little kept going in the second round.
Yeah,
I think
Walker
Sam
Little's
Cosme had a decent career.
More at guard, but...
Yeah, Dylan Radun's another guy who had a good career at guard. This was a really good tackle draft.
Yeah.
But, Darrisaw went... what was the concern with him? Was he hurt? I think he was hurt.
I don't know. He was a hell of a college player. And his tape was just like that. Like I said, that's what it's supposed to look like to be a first-round talent.
Because it wasn't arm length. Because it was arm length for...
No, I think injury sounds right.
It was arm length for what's his name? The other one. Slater.
Yeah, who's... right on the 33-inch, really kind of reset.
He measured at 33.
He kind of reset the threshold permanently to 33.
The weaknesses, the Lance Zierlein weaknesses for Darrisaw can be too nonchalant at times, inexplicably lets opponents off the hook early rather than finishing, too reliant upon athleticism over technique, low hands, open outside hip.
So all technique stuff.
Yeah, lazy with hand placement, rushes through, so they just thought it kind of that same Gonzalez thing. It's not they didn't know if he was...
I don't know. Sometimes he's blocking guys 10, 15 yards down the field.
The low burn field demeanor leads to inconsistencies in play, but the athletic traits and talent as a true left tackle should create first round demand as a higher ceiling, lower floor prospect.
Stud player.
It's fun to revisit this stuff sometimes because we lock in on this stuff
and then it goes
so much, and it's like, okay, well, let's see what they said about Christian, because that's something that I would read and I would look at and I would say, that worries me. And the same with Gonzalez. It worried people, and now look where we are.
I have a really bad habit, and I wish that I'm trying to get better at it because it's good to know the players in the league, obviously, of like as soon as they don't draft the guy that I did a lot of research on, all the research just goes poof out of my head.
Now that we've done this long enough, it'll hit me 4 years later. I'll be like, I remember this guy from the draft. I remember this guy from the draft. But I think I more have a habit. It doesn't go out of my head, but it's more like I remember how I felt about them at the draft, and that's how I feel about them.
Oh, well, I think executives in the league struggle with that.
But like, I think I need to be
NBA,
better about
all of them.
Right. It's like, hey, this guy's played 4 years. Now, if a guy comes like the year after the draft, I may be more inclined to that. But I've definitely been guilty of that at times.
Well, it's good not only because they might be playing those players, and I have a tendency of that too, where I go back to, well, here's some of the weaknesses of this player, and it's really just the weaknesses I thought of him coming out of the draft.
Right.
But even still, like 4 or 5 years from now, those guys are all going to be free agents. And, there might be a chance for them to sign Maxi Onachor or Cassius Howell or, one of these guys that I talked about for 6 months.
Again, the first draft we really did was 2019. And so 19, 20, 21, 22, like 23, I remember that offseason feeling like I suddenly had this massive jump in knowing the players around the league like well and not just names and all of that. And like that's part of the reason we dive so deep into the draft. Like you're learning what the league is going to be.
Yeah.
I remember you were a big AVT guy, right?
Yes.
That year?
Well, he's Trojan, fight on.
So let me ask you this to kind of bring this exercise to the current Patriots. Remembering what you said about AVT at the time to now, Was there a big change? I'll see if I can find anything you wrote about Elijah Vera Tucker.
Well, I wish he had stayed healthier. Like I think,
yeah,
that
he's a tough one.
That
to do
was
this
something
with.
that we couldn't predict. I thought that his tape was really solid at tackle, but probably better at guard. But I really liked him coming out, super athletic, great feet.
So
great,
you at the time saw him as more of a tackle.
Yeah, I believe so. If I remember correctly, I probably could pull my spreadsheet up from that year. I really liked him. Now I have a bias towards USC players. I'll just admit that off the top. But I really liked him, and I think they really liked him too. If the reporting was correct, I think that there were people in the room, maybe even Bill Belichick, that preferred him over Mac Jones, and I don't think he didn't make it to the Patriots. They ended up he ended up with the Jets at like 13 or 14, right? So.
It was the pick before the Jets traded up.
I think there was some reporting at the time of the draft that the Patriots might have actually gone like Vera Tucker, Davis Mills instead of Mac Jones at that pick if Vera Tucker had felt to him. He was a really good college player, really good prospect.
I have your thing up here, but I can't find him. Do you remember where you had him? This is your top 50. Or did you not have him on your top 50?
I don't know. Let me look up my spreadsheet. I'll do that after I read this email, and you can answer the email, and then I will. So we got a couple of these emails about Mac Hollins. This one's from Chris, but we had like 3 or 4.
Oh, wait, hang on. I got him.
Okay.
So you had him as number 17, projected first-round pick.
Yep.
You have a tweet in here. Most see him as a guard prospect at the next level, but his left tackle tape in 2020 was solid. Very smooth and fluid pass sets, quick feet, and easily gets his set points. What you actually wrote. Some project Vera Tucker as a guard after he started games at both left tackle and left guard in college. The USC product is one smooth operator with excellent movement skills as a pass protector and run blocker. He'll excel in either zone schemes or systems that ask him to make lateral moving blocks or climbs the second level of the defense. Vera Tucker fires out of his stance to create movement at the line of scrimmage, sustains blocks and finishes, and wins with very good body positioning as a run blocker. As a starting left tackle for the Trojans, he was excellent. So if you're inclined to leave him, as starting left tackle, he was excellent. So if you're inclined to leave him at tackle, period. So typo. Vera Tucker is a Pats archetype in terms of measurables and versatility, even if he's not a pure people mover at the point of attack. He's quietly one of the best prospects in this draft that doesn't get talked about enough.
Nailed it.
Would you say that is a fair representation of who he is now, injuries aside?
Yeah, if he had stayed healthy, I feel like we would be talking about him as like a really good player.
You went back and watched a tape of him in 24, right? When he signed, when he was healthy, when he signed here.
Yep.
Is that the player you saw?
I feel like it was for the most part. Yeah, I think maybe I overrated his nasty a little bit too much. Like maybe not the finisher, but certainly the athlete and the smoothness. I just think he's a really high-level pass blocker and a guy that can really move, out of his stance and blocking on the move up to the second level, laterally across the line of scrimmage on zone schemes. Really kind of hit on a lot of those things, besides maybe him kicking inside permanently and the injuries, obviously.
Right.
But I was definitely really high on him as that right up with the typo. That hopefully we improved on the typos.
You had, by the way, so you had him at 17. You had Caleb Fairley at 16. Who Mike Vrabel took.
Maybe
I'm just having fun with this now.
I'm not going to ask Mike Vrabel about that.
You want your Mac Jones write-up?
Give it to me.
Although Jones is a solid prospect, I'm still not convinced he's worth it for the 49ers at 3. Remember all that?
Nailed that.
The Alabama product has
they're going to take Mac Jones.
The Alabama product has machine-like consistency from the pocket and excellent accuracy timing and does all the little things well that it takes to thrive as a pocket passer. Parentheses, pocket management, movement, pre-snap reads, protections. The story also goes that Jones' grasp of Alabama's playbook is so advanced that he's teaching the offense to new OC Bill O'Brien this offseason. If the Niners don't take Jones, there's a million reasons why his style as a thrower would make him a perfect long-term option for New England. However, as good as his 2020 season was, it's hard to imagine that Jones will get exponentially better at the pro level with his lacking physical tools. We'd be assuming he could master his skill set at the NFL level in the same vein that Brady, Manning, and Breeze did, which is a lofty expectation. Nevertheless, it's hard to ignore the fit for the Patriots and the Belichick-Saban connection. If Jones doesn't go to San Francisco, the Pats could position themselves to take him in the first round.
Not bad.
I would say you nailed that. It's pretty good.
Not bad. And I saw my guy, Mac Jones, at the Super Bowl on Radio Row.
Yeah.
It was good to see him.
You did kind of cheat here, though. I went back and looked. It's a top 50, but you had 51 players. You split Davis Mills and Jamie Newman at 50.
Yeah, I like to do that. I like to, it's my board.
Jamie Newman had a week where everybody thought he was the guy. Oh, you had Cameron McGrone on your big board?
Yeah, I love
the
Cameron
Patriots
McGraw,
hit.
and he was
Okay,
drafted.
one more. I know you want to get to the emails. One more. Number 44 on Evan Lazar's 2021 big board.
Yeah.
Current Patriot. Do you remember?
Barmore?
Nope. Close.
I thought I had Barmore on there.
I'll control F. No, I was scrolling through.
No, who?
Very close.
Milton Williams?
Milton Williams, projected second, third round. Williams is one of the strongest defensive linemen in this class that has an excellent understanding of how to play with leverage and use his hands to defeat blocks. He'll also absorb contact and anchor against double teams and has some suddenness to his movements to win with quickness on the inside. In the Patriot system, Williams projects a base 3-4 defensive end that can kick inside to rush the passer on passing downs. The only knock to his game is 31.5-inch arms or the lack of ideal length for work as a two-gapper, but he's so strong in his upper body and smart with his hands that it can be overlooked. In a weak defensive line class, Williams is one of the few that consistently stood out on tape.
Okay, so I overrated probably his, he's not like a space eater. Like, I feel like I kind of described him a little bit as like a block-eating defensive lineman, good anchor, things like that. Probably.
Well, you were trying to make him fit for.
I probably underrated his pass rush ability.
All right.
Like, he's definitely a much better, more dynamic pass rusher than I.
You had Barmore at 29.
Yeah.
Your first sentence is the same thing for me with Barmore.
Yeah.
I'm significantly lower than most on Barmore's fit for the Patriots, but there are things to like about his game. That's exactly where I was.
Yeah.
He's not a two-gapper, but he's not an end unless they're willing to throw it way back. Like, they don't play these kind of defensive tackles. And then all of a sudden they did. My hesitation with the Alabama defensive tackle is he's a boomer bust prospect whose preference is to fire off the ball whose preference is to fire off the ball to shoot gaps and rush the passer. Barmore is not a two-gapper against the run, and his best fit is as a penetrating three-tech. Even Nick Saban felt that way about Barmore, which is why he didn't play every down for Alabama. Barmore's get-off and upper body power are flashy qualities if he can commit to playing with better pad level against the run. As we saw in the college football playoff, he can be a game wrecker in New England system. Barmore is likely a situational pass rusher in Adam Butler's old role. Is that worth a first-round pick for New England? No, and it's certainly not worth it at number 15. I felt the exact same way. I remember I was like...
They ended up getting him much later.
Square peg, round hole, and then he fell, and it was like, well, the guy's so good.
Yeah.
You had Amon-Ra at 25.
Loved Amon-Ra.
Yeah. You had him behind Amari Rodgers.
Trojan.
Yeah. We all right. I could do this all day. Well, remember, this is a good segment for the summer, but you nailed most of those.
We're in the summer, man.
That's true.
We already did what we saw at minicamp. We already took all the calls.
Well, we have, what is it? 6 weeks of nothing, right? So we'll have your big boards from 2021. We can't do last year. We'll do like Evan Lazar's big board per week or something.
Last year, I was very upset with myself. Did not have a good performance.
You mean this past one?
Yes.
Oh,
bad.
Not great in the first round. I had Akis. I had Prunty. I had Morton. I had Crownover.
I had Akis and Crownover.
And I probably should have had Raritan.
I should have had both Lomu and Raritan, and I effed it up. See, I didn't curse. I junked it.
Good job.
I messed it up.
All right, let's read some emails.
Pissed at myself about that still, all these months later. All right, so this is an email from Chris. I got this email in different ways 3 or 4 times, so I'll just address it here. Asking about Matt Collins moving to tight end. And I just kind of feel like Matt Collins already kind of is a tight end. Yeah. So I don't really know if...
I just think what people miss...
The position that's next to his name, I don't know if it really changes a whole lot about his role. He's going to... Whether he's a joker, like a move tight end, or he's a wide receiver that plays in tight to the formation, it's, it's apples. It's half to one and dozen to the other, whatever that saying is.
I think the thing people miss, they hear how good of a blocker Matt Collins is, and he is, but he's a really good blocker at wide receiver. Like, that scales differently when you move him to tight end. And inline hand in the dirt's another story. So
right, like he's not putting his hand in the dirt, but he's still playing from alignments that are close to the formation. He's still blocking nickels. He's still cracking ends. He's blocking up to the linebackers in some of their run fits. Like, he's still doing a lot of the things that like a move or a detached tight end would do. Yeah. He's just doing it with a WR next to his name instead of a TE. I think that's one of those that I just wouldn't get too caught up in positions. Like, it's where they're playing on the field and the roles they're being asked to execute. More so than the position itself.
Real quick, little breaking news here from Ian Rappaport. Zadarius Smith was released off the Eagles reserve retire list, an indication he could be open to coming back.
Okay.
Pats need an edge. Would you call it Zadarius Smith?
I think he's a fit for what they like to do. Big guy, can play that 4-3 end spot, rush the passer a little bit. Maybe if he has anything left in the tank, I don't know. Maybe you have him in for like a private workout first and see what he's got left. All right, a couple more emails here. A lot of emails too about Kayvon Thibodeau trade ideas. This is from Jeff in Virginia. He says, can't you trade a 4th for Kayvon Thibodeau? And then if he signs elsewhere, get the pick back in the draft pick comp formula. So in theory,
as long as he has a good season.
Yeah, in theory you could. But 1, as long as he has a good season. 2, as long as you don't add a ton of external free agents.
Well, their big free agency classes are they're not going to have more of these classes.
I would assume that's true, but if you spend on a top free agent and he's a top free agent, then they're going to wash each other out in the comp pick formula. So technically you could, and Bill Belichick did that 100 million times.
Yeah.
But that would be the downside. Even if their big spending is done, if you went
one guy can ruin that.
Yeah, could ruin that. This was Nate in Connecticut who called in and he had to go. Also asked about Hollins versus Kayshon Boutte, 2 wide receiver sets with Hollins, Kayshon Boutte. This one is from Sam. What happened to Trayvon's blocking? Was he not heralded as an all-time pass blocking prospect coming out? How does a player go from that to being subpar, especially coming from a big-time program? I think that's a fair question. With Trayvon Henderson is definitely one of the best, if not the best, pass blocking backs in that draft. I mean, Sean McVay said he was one of the best he's ever seen, right? Evaluating prospects at Ohio State. I would say it's a combination of 2 things. Trayvon Henderson adjusting to this system, and we've talked a lot about this offense and how much it puts on running backs where a lot of their reads, not all of them, but a lot of them are dual reads where they're reading off of 2 different players. So usually like the inside guy is priority. So if that player comes, then they're going to block that player and leave the outside player unblocked. But if the inside player drops into coverage and the outside player comes, then now you have to come all the way outside to that player. So a lot of it is just post-snap reaction and reads and getting that sort of thing figured out as a young player, which we've seen. Like this is why James White redshirted. Like we've seen this a million times across the Patriots dynasty and over the years with those running backs. I would also say he's not a big dude, right? He's not like Ramondre Stevenson size. And one of the things that he talked about last year was at this level, guys have moves. Like at the college level, guys are just running downhill through the gap that they're blitzing through full bore. At the NFL, guys have pass rush moves. So when he goes to block somebody, guys have moves. They can swim, they can spin, they can jab, they can rip. They can do all these different things that edge rushers do. Basically, these off-ball linebackers are trained and they're good at it. They're good at these different finesse rush moves that can be hard to block. So I think a lot of this is just adjusting to things in the NFL game, where in college these guys are all just kind of bull rushing when they blitz. Right. In the NFL, these guys have toolboxes of moves that they can go to, and then also the system and the reads within the system. So hopefully he can, improve in all those areas and be a better player for it, this year in terms of the blocking.
Real quick, Taylor Kyle's pointing out on Twitter, Zadarius Smith played for Mike Smith in Green Bay and Minnesota.
Good pull. So maybe a guy that they could kick around, kick the tires on. This is from Jake. Jake is from Bendigo, Australia. I hope I said that right. So thanks for listening. Bendigo, I think. Bendigo, all the way from Australia. Sorry, I butchered the name of the town. I need to know, this is directed at you, Alex.
No, you're right, Bendigo.
It says Barth with an exclamation point in the subject line. I need to know, punters, how are they looking? As we know, the real MVP of the Super Bowl was the Seahawks punter.
Correct.
Who is Australian, I believe. Oh, okay. So that's probably why. We talked a little bit about the punters earlier, but do you have any reset thoughts on the punters?
I do think that we're going to get a punter battle in camp. I don't know if it's going to be this kid that's here now or somebody else, but it does feel like we're going to get one.
I would like that for you because, it gives us another talking thing to talk about where I throw it to you and I say, all right, Alex, this is the punter hour.
You get a little break during the show.
Yeah, one little thing about special teams, one little nugget. Is it interesting to you at all that Romeo Doubs has been returning punts? Like, he's not going to, but
no, I mean, The more you can do, right? Yeah, I was a little interested by that.
Yeah, like
I wonder if he
obviously-
did that in Green Bay. I wonder if that's part of his practice.
Obviously, Marcus Jones is going to return punts. If he's hurt, Pop Douglas probably the next guy up, or Efton Chisholm. I think you have to go through a lot of layers of depth before you're throwing Romeo Dobbs back there, but it's just interesting in practice.
I mean, we have zero indication of who the kick returner is going to be. That one's good. That's going to be a fun battle. The kick returner battle.
That's a role that all of you special teams
And it's
folks tell me
important
that
now.
you tell me that they need to really improve that role from last year. Do you not? We had this whole argument about it a couple months ago about the starting field positions and stuff like that, and the math like we played at the top of the show. All right, last email here, off topic, but I have to do it because
More Celtics?
you love soccer and you love or football, as they say in other parts of the world, and you love what's going on here with the
I'm
World
not going to
Cup.
say anything bad about Gillette Stadium.
Don't say anything bad about FIFA. We're getting
No, I
trouble.
won't.
We love our overlords of FIFA. On my credential to get into this place, it now says tenant. We work here and we're tenant. Sorry. Okay, I said I wasn't going to say anything bad about FIFA. We love our FIFA overlords. But Barton Poland emailed in at the end of yesterday. Was it yesterday? Yeah. Unfiltered. I quickly gave a 2-second take on Team USA in the World Cup. I told you that I was going to expect a take out of you about this. I told you to do some homework. Did you do that homework at all?
Yeah.
Are you doing it right now?
I'm pulling up my notes.
You're pulling up your notes? All right, you have notes.
I have notes.
Okay.
So they're obviously a little banged up, which isn't ideal going into the tournament.
Yeah.
I think they should probably win the group they're in, and then we'll see.
That was better than I was expecting you to give me. Honestly, that was more. I really feel strongly, and this is not because the tournament is here.
Oh, and I would start. Jeez, why am I blank on his name now? In goal.
Matt Turner.
Matt Turner. Thank
because
you.
you know him.
I called one of his games once.
You know his name
when he played at Fairfield. They came up and played UMass Lowell. I called the game.
I would just say that I'd be really disappointed if they don't get out of the group. I'd be big disappointed if they don't get out of the group. I'd be disappointed. You know, I did the small C concern thing earlier. Like high level pissed if they don't make it out of the group. Mid-level pissed if they don't win a knockout stage game. I think that this group has been, I've been told for a couple of cycles now that this was going to be the group of USA Soccer led by Christian Pulisic that was going to be able to take that next step in international soccer. If they get grouped or they don't make it out of the group, I will be apoplectic. Like, you walk home, right?
Yeah.
If they get out of the group but lose in the first round of the knockout, I'll be disappointed, but I won't be devastated. If they make it, if they win one knockout round, I'd be really excited.
So they have Paraguay first.
Yeah.
Then Australia, then Turkey's. Australia, the toughest match there? Paraguay?
Turkey, probably. The way that it's set
Let's
up.
see. Turkey's world ranking is 22nd. Australia's is 27th, so it's close.
Close.
And then Paraguay's 40.
Yeah, I thought it was Turkey. I saw some of the odds, and they're pretty flat for this group. Like, the U.S. has the best chance to win the
What's
group.
the U.S.'s rank? 16th.
The U.S. has the best chance to win the group, but it's not by a lot. It's,
Okay.
like, they're at, like, 40, and then Turkey's
But
at,
the
like,
top
30.
two advance, so they don't even need to win the group to get out.
Then the best,
and then there's like a wild card,
then
right?
the best third-place teams advance because they stupidly expanded the tournament to 48 teams.
Is that new this year?
Yes, and
Okay.
it's all messed up. But my most important player, obviously the best player on Team USA is Pulisic. But the most important player for Team USA is Tyler Adams. Tyler Adams in the midfield. I'd also say like Weston McKennie, also really important to them as well.
Okay.
But Tyler Adams has to kind of control the middle of the field for them. I think that's the biggest issue that I always see with USA Soccer is they're athletic and they can play on the wings with a lot of teams, but like the technical stuff that happens in the middle of the field, the passing and the triangles and all that good stuff that really leads to the good scoring chances that all like the good teams can do, like France and Spain. The U.S. have trouble with that. So they can win it down the outside, they can cross the ball in, but that's low percentage. It's like kind of throwing like a 50-50 ball, right? It's a low percentage way to score goals of looking for headers and tips and deflections and stuff like that. They got to play better through the middle of the field, and hopefully Tyler Adams can do that. All right, thank you for humoring me for 2 seconds on the World Cup. USA first game Friday night. this week, Friday night at 9, I think. It's out in LA, I believe. Alex and I will be back next week. Like I said, 2 to 4 p.m. 2 to 4 p.m. here on Catch-22, right after Patriots Unfiltered, which will be 12 to 2. We'll recap. Tomorrow should be a full speed practice again for the Patriots at minicamp. So we'll recap what we saw on Thursday, set the table for the off season. Maybe we'll get back to our Around the AFC project that we were working on as well and get back into those. That's next week from 2 to 4 on Catch-22. I'll see you tomorrow on PU, and we'll see you guys next week here.
Bye.
Hey, this is Deuce. Thanks for tuning into the show. If you really want to help us, make sure you like us wherever you get your podcasts, like Apple Podcasts or Spotify. Also, make sure you follow us on the New England Patriots YouTube channel to see this show and everything else that we do here at the Patriots. Thanks a lot.